I would ask everyone to turn off your cell phones or turn on the silent feature. This hearing is being streamed on YouTube. I would ask all those that come forward to speak to an application today use the microphones provided to ensure that all discussions can be heard clearly. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, the Wendat, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. I want to call this meeting to order in accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act. The Committee of Adjustments considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaws that applies to property, permission to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. Anyone attending today who wishes to receive a copy of our decision must complete a decision request card. These cards are available at the end of the table down there. On my right, please ensure you include your email address. Once completed, please give the card to a member of the staff seated to my right. If you do not agree with our decision, most decisions can be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TEY. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. More information on TEY can be found on either TEY's website or our website, which can be accessed through the City of Toronto website. The hearing procedure we're going to follow today, to ensure a fair and timely hearing, I'm going to vet the agenda to determine which applications can be dealt with immediately and which applications have individuals other than the applicant agent that wish to address the committee. I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda and will ask for individuals to identify themselves. If there are people in interest or in opposition, the matter will be held until all non-contested applications have been dealt with. If your item is held, we strongly advise that the applicant agent meet with the interested parties outside the hearing room to discuss and/or resolve concerns or issues. If nobody's present in interest or in opposition, we're going to call the items in the order they are on the agenda. When making your submissions, if the application is uncontested, the agent or applicant will proceed with their presentation if we require one. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into the committee for a decision. Each speaker will be given a maximum of 5 minutes. When addressing the committee, please come forward to the podium in front of me here. Clearly state your name and address and provide your decision request card to committee staff. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. If you have a written submission that you read from, please hand it to the Deputy Secretary Treasurer when you're done. The agent or applicant will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee. Please note that the committee may not entertain extensive revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application to ensure that any revisions are accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. If there are several speakers sharing the same view, please select a spokesperson. Although we want to hear your views, we don't want to have the same points covered over and over again. We may ask you questions. When all the speakers are finished, the applicant agent has an opportunity to rebut only those issues raised by the speakers. After that, the application will be taken into committee for a decision. Are there any declarations of interest from the panel for items in the 1:30 time slot?
No.
there any files to be closed, Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer?
No, Mr. Chair.
Any deferral requests?
Not that I'm aware of.
Does anybody want to defer their matter? Okay. I'm going to vet the agenda of the 1:30 list. Number 21, 384 Wellesley Street East. Applicant? Yes. Any opposition? Yes. Okay. We're going to hold that down. You can meet outside if you see fit and try and resolve your issues. Number 22, 333 and 335 Rogers Road. Applicant, yes. Any opposition? Rogers Road, opposition? None. We'll proceed. 23, 22 Mithoon Avenue. Applicant, yes. Any opposition? We will proceed with that one. 24, 53 Palmerston Avenue. Yes. Any opposition to Palmerston Avenue? Yes. Okay, we're going to hold that one down. Perhaps you could meet outside and try and resolve your issues. Number 25, 122 Darci Street. Applicant, any opposition? No. Okay, 26, 920 Yonge Street, B2. Applicant, any opposition? Yes. Okay, we're going to hold that one down. You can meet outside and try and get it resolved. Number 27, 174 Indian Grove. Yes. Any opposition to Indian Grove? No. Okay, we will proceed. 28th, 39 Summerhill Avenue. Okay, any opposition to Summerhill Avenue? 29, 148 Springhurst. Yes. Any opposition to Springhurst? No. Okay. Number 30, 200 Cumberland Street. Any opposition to Cumberland? Okay. We shall proceed. What happened to my book? Okay, number 22, 333, 335 Rogers Road. The purpose of this application is to alter the existing two-story detached dwelling by creating a second dwelling unit and constructing a two-story east side addition with an integral garage. We have before us material submitted by the applicant. Your name, sir?
Hello, good afternoon, Chairman and committee members. My name is Eddie Perez. I'm the designer and agent for this project.
Okay. Okay, can you tell us a little about this application?
Yeah, we're proposing to build a addition to the side or rear, however you look at it. We're proposing to put an integral garage and with a living space above. And we have a variance for rear landscaping. Instead of 50%, we have 39%. And then we have a variance also for the length. Instead of 17, we have 20.43. And for the depth, 19, we have 19.91. And the side yard, we have a minimal, which is, we require 1.2, we have 1.18, which is very minimal. We've talked to neighbors and such. There's no letters or anything from planning or anything anywhere else. We feel that this application is minor in nature.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions, or do we have a motion?
I have a quick question. Did you have any feedback on changing the access to the major street?
No, we don't have any feedback. It's an existing curb cut there. I can show you, I have a picture.
So were you, and there's a number of cars parked on that site already, so you're using...
Yeah, that's why they want to build a garage, so it'll be less impact. It'll be inside the...
So you're already using that as an X
Yeah.
entrance and exit?
Correct.
Any further questions? We have a motion.
I'd like to propose that we accept the application as is.
Seconder.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor? Have your approval, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Number 2322 Mithoon Avenue. Purpose of this application is to alter the existing detached house by constructing a fourth-story addition with a front deck. Note the dwelling is classified as a four-story building because the basement's located closest to the established grade and is considered the first floor. So we have before us a material submitted by the applicant, a report from planning, and 7 form letters in support. Your name, madam?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and the members of the committee. My name is Tatiana Pejevich, and I'm the agent for the owner and as well as the designer for the proposal at 22 METHUEN Avenue. The owner would like to add several sentences regarding his communication with the neighborhood.
I'm the owner, Michael Jarima, along with my wife, Tamara Lee. I appreciate the time and privilege to come and speak in front of the committee. We're long-term residents, and we're hoping to build a home that can fit ourselves and our 3 young daughters for the next 25 or 30 years. We've gone to our close neighbors, spent some time with them to explain the variances and their nature, and as you've seen in the file, received pretty generous feedback, support from the immediate neighbors around our house. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
Aware of the condition asked by the planning staff about the privacy suite?
Yes. Yes, I just placed on the projector a map showing, in fact, consistency and the number of the neighbors who are supporting this proposal. As we see, 22 METHUEN is located as with the red letters as subject property. We have support from the immediate neighbors on the east and west side, 20 and 24, as well as the neighbor who is sharing rear property line with the owner, also the neighbors which are across this property, and so. We also, meanwhile, did this quick revision in which, according to recommendation of the staff, we added, just a moment. On the 4th floor or 3rd floor, according to definition, which is according to definition for the 1st floor for this house, we added also a privacy screen on the west and east side of the house. The issue with the 4 stories is since...
Can I ask you quickly, is
yes.
the basement and ground floor, I mean, in an existing condition? Did you change it, or is it already like that?
The basement is in fact existing condition, and based on that, in fact, when we in this redesign of the house, basement which is currently around 6 feet height, we tried to increase the height of a basement to a standard height, which is around 8 feet. So the new floor joists of the main level are raised in respect to existing basement. In that way, in fact, the house changed the ratio between the existing, established...
You're not underpinning, you're increasing the height of the ground floor.
Yes, we are not, in fact, the whole house is still under, is not exceeding the height, which is according to zoning requirement 11 meters. So we don't have that issue as zoning variance. I will just show the This is a 3D rendering of the house, in fact, where we see, as it is also stated in the staff report, that the house from the street view looks, and from any other angle, it looks like a 3-story house, because we have, in fact, regular basement, also main floor, second, and the third floor, which is covered from the street view, mostly under the roof.
Okay.
Does anybody have any other questions, or can we have a motion, Mr. Cheng?
I'm willing to put forward a motion to approve. I don't see too much of a problem with this and understand the grade.
Yeah, so assuming approving with the condition.
And approving, yeah, in accordance with the planning department conditions.
I'll second that.
All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Number 24 is held. Number 25, 122 Darci Street.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Yi Chow.
Just hang on a minute. Purpose of this application is to construct a new rear 2-story ancillary building with a 2-car garage on the ground and a laneway suite above. We have on this application material submitted by the applicant, correspondence from traffic and engineering, support from 124 and 120 Darci, and concern from 120 Darci. Well, same person, so I don't know if they changed his mind or what. Your name, sir?
Oh, yeah, sorry. My name is Yi Chow, owner of the property, 122 Darci Street.
Yes. Okay, so you seem to comply with most of the requirements of the laneway?
Yes, yeah, we actually just want to build on top of the existing garage and maintain the current footprint and not have to move it back 1.5 meters. A matter of fact, that is the concern of my adjacent neighbor, Claudio Gaudio. He supports leaving the footprint as is, because we push it back, that will sort of obstruct his enjoyment of his backyard.
Okay.
And the second variance, we think it's very minor, because it's just 7.5 inches of penetration of the angular roof plane, and of that 7.5 inches, none of that is living area. It's just the rooftop cap.
Aware of the memorandum issued by the city staff, right, about
Engineering?
signed seal certificate letter by professional engineer.
Oh, yeah, we absolutely intend to meet all of that,
We're
yeah.
going to name the laneway as well.
Yes, we'll follow up with that for sure. We might actually want to name it in honor of my mom
Okay.
recently, yeah.
How interesting, okay. Yeah, so no other question, I can motion to approve
We
with,
have a-
subject to the condition.
Engineering conditions. Do we have a seconder?
Absolutely.
All right. All in favor? Have your approval, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, have a good day.
Number 26 is being held. Move on to 27, 174 Indian Grove. Purpose of this application is the existing 3-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a rear basement walkout. We have material submitted by the applicant. We have email correspondence from planning and a staff report from planning. We have 2 form letters in support from adjacent neighbors. Well, no, they're not. 176 and 178, you don't have 172. Your name, sir?
My name is Adam Olson. I'm the husband of the owner of the property.
Yes.
So just a point of clarification, we were here 2 years ago at committee to get approval for a renovation and received approval for a basement walkout at the time. What this application relates to is that there was a discrepancy on our permit drawings between the structural drawings and the architectural drawings for that walkout. And the structural drawings showing it slightly extending further into the backyard. and it was constructed substantially in accordance with those drawings. The inspector asked us to file a permit resubmission to clean up that discrepancy, and we learned at that time that that was actually adjusting our building depth variance, triggering an additional trip here to committee and several-month wait to close our permit.
So you either come to us or you sue your engineer, right?
Well, hopefully we can resolve this amicably and everyone is satisfied with the outcome. But yes, from our standpoint, this is a technical matter, immaterial in nature, and just sort of cleaning up. So it's 1.75 meters further, although this is almost entirely below grade. So I've got a photo I can. So you can see from the photo, the upper purple line is where it was shown on the architectural drawings. The lower purple line is where it was shown on our structural drawings. And then we actually constructed it sort of in between. You can see that this is almost fully below grade. It's just a little 6-inch projection above grade. I did speak to the neighbors. They didn't even know this was an issue. They had no concerns because there was no additional impact to them beyond the original approved application. We did speak with the planner. She is aware of the application. She has no concerns with it. She did request a condition just to limit this depth variance to this particular matter and the basement walkout, just to avoid setting any precedents for building masses to be at this depth, which we have no problem with. Our building, the actual building itself, complied with the 17 meters depth.
No changes of landscaping and anything like that, right?
Correct. In between, we have greenscaping on the other side. There's actually a step in that planter, so the amount of softscape is the same in both cases. It just kind of shifted from one side of that concrete curb to the other.
Anybody have any further questions, or do we have a motion?
Motion, so you don't have to sue the engineer, so I'll approve it.
Thank you.
Or his architect?
Or the architect, right? He's well, I'm an architect too. Suing an architect, right? Anyway, so yes, take a motion to approve your application.
All right, do we have a second?
With the condition that it cannot exceed with the number stated in the agreement and plan.
All in favor?
Okay. Thank you all.
Did you- Number 2839 Summerhill Avenue. The purpose of this application is to construct a new 3-story semi-detached dwelling and a rear 2-story laneway suite. Before us on this application, we have the material submitted by the applicant, email correspondence from Heritage, a report from engineering, correspondence in support from 12 Tacoma, and 7 form letters in support. Your name, please.
Hi, my name is Kira Clarkson. I am the architect and the agent for the owner, Jennifer McDonald, who is at my side here, even though it says that she's in opposition, but she very much supports the project. We actually have 4 more letters of support that came in yesterday, and we weren't able to bring them in time for you to get them.
Bring them up, please. Okay, we have some more letters of support from 110 Bloor Street, 41 Summerhill. Or Shaftesbury Place, 33 Summerhill Avenue, and 28 Summerhill Avenue.
So among the 12 letters of support are the letters from the 2 adjacent neighbors who are the most, who are affected in the most. They both support, and in fact, also are allowing for an overdig in order for our construction to go as well as possible. So they've been extremely cooperative. We've also spoken to planning, and they have supported our project from the very early concept drawings of the design process.
Just about, did you have enough time to respond to the letter on July 30th from the city?
From ECS?
Yeah, no,
Yes.
about the site plan division and the grade review storage area.
Yes. From,
Path.
is that from ECS?
I think.
From Engineering Construction Services?
Yes, it is, yes.
Yes. So we are able to accommodate the garbage. And the issue of the access along the side, what's tricky, so there's one variance for the laneway suite. And that variance was for soft landscaping at the rear, and we were able to accommodate that. And the planner supports permeable paving there. We were trying to keep the laneway as wide as possible, and so we didn't want to actually build right up to the setback that's required, the minimum setback. But ECS's concern was about fire access, and there are actually 6 houses on the laneway, and there's a fire hydrant within 42 meters of the back door of the laneway suite. So it's actually a fire hydrant that's in a better situation, given that there are 4 freestanding houses that get garbage pickup and fire support there.
Oh, you're lucky, it's within 45 meters.
We're lucky. But we're still in communication with them. We understand that when we go for a building code review, we may need to provide what's considered the alternate solution for that project. But their objections weren't actually related to the variances, but were related to concerns about access. And so far, the building department has not yet put into play the easement amendment that might allow for access across a neighbor's property to access the laneway suites. You're probably aware of that possible change that's coming. Would you like me to present the variances and the project, or?
We need a presentation.
I'm fine.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have any further questions? We have a motion.
I have a motion to approve.
Thank you.
Subject to the engineering
Subject to the condition, right? Yeah.
I'll second that.
Thank
All
you.
in favor? You have your approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Number 29, 148 Springhurst. The purpose of this application is to legalize and to maintain the secondary suite in the basement of the existing 3-story detached dwelling, and to construct a 5th dwelling unit and a 3rd parking surface space in the rear yard. And before us on this application, we have material submitted by the applicant, email correspondence from Transportation, staff reports from Urban Forestry. In Transportation, we have 17 form letters in support. We have opposition from 149 Springhurst Avenue.
Morning, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Matt. I'm the agent for Miss Molly, the owner.
What's your last name?
Frater Cangeli.
Right. Okay. Okay, so we're just talking about parking.
That's right, yeah.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
All in all, you're providing 3.
That's
These
right.
are because of the site restriction.
Correct.
Right. It's kind of interesting, they want you 4, and then they only allow you to have 2 at the backs.
That's right, yeah, it is interesting.
They don't allow tandem parking as well, so you are trapped.
Is the, so there's an existing secondary suite in the building that you're seeking to legalize, is that correct?
There's 4 units that are legal in the building, 1 in the basement that's not legalized yet, and that's the one we are trying to legalize. So it'll be 5 units after.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, yeah, okay.
You are aware that the is indicated that your front yard parking license will be revoked?
Yeah, that's right. That's something I wanted to ask the committee if you were able to make a recommendation back to Transportation Services to keep the parking. I know...
Only approve or disapprove it. So you might just want to accept it.
Mr. Chair, the committee doesn't have any jurisdiction over the city boulevard.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It's just,
We'll deal with the variations, and you have to deal with the
that's
transportation.
right. Thank you.
Okay? Any further questions, or do we have a motion?
I have a motion to approve with the condition. Any conditions? Urban forestry condition.
Number two.
Number 2.
All right. And so a seconder? All in favor of your approval, sir? Thank you. Number 30, 200 Cumberland Street. Purpose of this application is to alter the redevelopment plan for mixed-use buildings approved under site-specific bylaw 1084-2013 by reducing the number of shared parking spaces. We have before us material submitted by the applicant, email correspondence from Planning and Transportation Services. Your name, sir?
Michael Foderick, Foderick. I'm the lawyer for the owner, the applicant as well.
Right.
So we're here before you today to ask for one variance. This is a mixed-use building, a series of mixed-use buildings, in fact, that are under construction right now. 200 Cumberland's the address. They also front onto Avenue Road, and one of the buildings fronts onto Yorkville. There is a site-specific zoning bylaw, and there's been a series of variances to that bylaw in the normal course to accommodate modifications to the built form since 2013 when that site-specific bylaw was approved. The one specific variance we're here today, though, to talk about is parking. Specifically, there is a requirement in the bylaw to provide a minimum of 380 parking spaces, and we propose to provide 349 parking spaces. And in fact, the first request I have of you is to just tweak the wording of the variance itself. Right now it says the minimum of 380 parking spaces are required to be provided on the lot. In this case, 349 parking spaces will be provided on the lot. I'd like that to say a minimum of 349 parking spaces in case we want to provide 350 or 51 or something up to that. So I doubt I'd have a problem with that, and it's maybe I'm splitting hairs, but that's a tweak I'd request that the committee makes. So a minimum of 349. There is a Lee Consulting transportation report you have on the record, and it articulates this in far more detail than I'm going to be able to. But the short version is the site-specific bylaw, and this is also outlined in my cover letter, it has two provisions that deal with parking requirements. One is on a unit basis and a non-residential GFA basis, you have to provide X number of spots per one-bedroom unit, X number per two-bedroom unit, et cetera, and then GFA. And so you total all those up and it gives you the number. And then it says, notwithstanding that, you also have to provide a minimum of 380. So the situation we're in is when we actually built out the site and we've now determined how many units of different types there will be. When you total all that up, we're only required under that first calculation to provide 346. However, we don't comply with that overall total of 380. And so this is one of the reasons why I think obviously it meets the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, because on a use-by-use basis, we are complying completely and providing, in fact, a little bit extra. I think it's also noteworthy.
Is that for visiting?
No, this is not specific to visitors. We're not looking for a reduction in visitor parking per se. These are in fact reductions to ones that will be used by, assigned to residential units in particular, I think is where it'll mostly come for. And as the Lee Consulting report outlines, you don't know this when you're proposing a building, when you're designing a building, and it was years ago, 2013, the bylaw was approved. Now we have actual data on who's, as we're leasing up, selling out the building, we know how many people are actually asking for spots and how many we're actually signing people up for. And so it's based on that we are going to have empty spots. That's the reason. So rather than have a bunch of empty spots, this is the variance we're asking for. And I think it's very important because the original bylaw included a provision which you don't always see, but this bylaw included for parking stackers. So a number of the spots were contemplated, because we're already down to P5, we can't physically go any lower. A number of the spots were going to be accommodated in parking stackers. You know what they are, right? You pull into the elevator and it lifts up. So the decrease in spaces that we're proposing here are going to come in the form of us taking out some of those parking stackers, right? So I'll put it out there, those are the least desirable spots, because you have to make arrangements and get attendance. So it's those spots that we will be removing if this variance is authorized. Furthermore, if something goes totally crazy and demand all of a sudden shoots through the roof and, people want the spots, the bylaw will still allow us to go up to 380, especially if we make that tweak I mentioned. But we could always slip those parking stackers back in later, right? So that's easy enough. The building's already built in a way that it can accommodate them. But to make us to put in those stackers when they're going to sit empty, that's what we're trying to avoid. As I have already outlined, this is the intended purpose of the bylaw is first and foremost to ensure that there's adequate parking for the uses on the site. And I think we've done that, because we meet the use-by-use provisions, but more importantly, we, as opposed to when the bylaw is written, we have real experience now with what the demand actually is, and we have the actual people signed up for the spots, and we're not filling them nearly enough. So that, I think, we're just able to write a better bylaw now with that information. And it goes without saying, being in Yorkville, this is a very heavy transit area, the nexus of subway lines, et cetera, and we have a lot of units that, anecdotally we know are going to be occupied by people who are at U of T and that sort of thing. So there is just not a lot of, there's a place in the city where there's not a lot of need for having cars. This is probably it. And as that bears itself out in actually how people have taken up the space. There's no objection from planning. They've put a letter to that effect. There's no objection from Transportation Services. They've reviewed it, and they have no objection in that regard. And it's worth noting that when Lee, in their report, if you've had a chance to read it, they've prepared a helpful table of all the parking ratios in Yorkville, in that neck of the woods, and we are by no means the lowest, right? So we're not trying to set a precedent or something. We're actually, there's several dozen projects there in the recent ones that have lower ratios that have been approved either through bylaw amendment or variance, and we're not nearly the lowest. So, and again, these are spots on P5. So I could go on, but I think in the net, that's our position. And I think so in the end, we're meeting the intended purpose of the bylaw and the OP, especially the site-specific bylaw. And this is minor for the reasons I mentioned. And to be honest, empty parking stackers, that would be undesirable development of the land. It's more desirable to not have to put those stackers in. So that's our position, sir, and we'd love to have your support.
All right. I have a couple of concerns. First of all, I don't think we can say a minimum. Once we've sent the notice out and it says 349 parking spaces, I don't think we can say a minimum of 349 because you're enlarging what you're asking for.
And sir, I think I have the opposite view on that. I think it's quite clear that I'm not. If I was to say, a minimum of 345 or something, I think that's right on. But I'm saying that it could be less, it would be closer, so I'm actually minimizing the variance. So it's within the range of the variance. I'm not asking to increase the variance. That requires the new notice. I'm saying the possibility exists that it could be 370 spots or 375 spots. And don't get me wrong, I'm probably gilding the lily here because the zoning examiner is not going to hang us out to dry if we put those spots, but I just like it to be perfect if we can make it perfect. So your concern is bang on, sir. I just think it's clear that this tweak I'm suggesting is lesser, potentially a lesser variance than what was asked for, not potentially more. There's no way I think that could be read. That's my view of it, sir.
Well, that was my other concern, but you seem to feel that if we approve 349 spaces, you're still going to be able to go up to, you're not going to be able to go below 349, but you're going to be able to go up to 380. I think 380 disappears.
Well, the site-specific bylaw still says 380, and that's why I'm saying I'd like the flexibility, right, to keep to be able to keep it at what the bylaw said. A minimum of 380 is required. That's what and we're saying we don't need 380. We think we need 349. I'm just saying I think we could definitely live with 349. That's unlikely to change. But on the off chance something were to go sideways and demand, we could always go back to 380 if there was. And keep in mind, sir, the 380 is a minimum in the bylaw. It's not saying that's not even constraining, right? There could be more in the bylaw. It's actually, you could be required to put more if you increase the number of units and what have you. So we're not looking to create spots that are unnecessary. I just want to make sure that we keep that flexibility that already exists, that if we want to add the parking stackers back because demand was there and we wouldn't be able to say, oh no, we're hamstrung by it, we can go back to what the bylaw said if there was an unexpected surge in demand for some, which there's not going to be, but I think it's prudent. That's why we're asking for that tweak, if you're agreeable, sir.
Well, Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, we have a difference of interpretation. So if we approve 349 parking spaces as the variance provides, are we changing the amount of parking spaces from 380, for a minimum of 380 to 349?
You're permitting them a variance to just provide 349, but if they wanted to provide 360,
They couldn't do it.
they could. Because it's.
But the variance doesn't say a minimum. Now he wants to change it.
Well, the bylaw requirement says a minimum of 380 parking spaces. Putting in I don't think that the intent of the decision changes if you use the word a minimum of or not less than. Either or would work.
You just want to be safer when it goes to planning or building
I don't
department.
think
They want to be sure that, you got more than 49 and you were only allowed to do 49. I think that's his concern. But
It
even
would be
to be honest, I don't think that would be the case.
You don't need it? You don't need it, is what you're saying?
Yeah, what I'm saying is the interpretation of these, I think, is assumed that at all levels of the city staff, we understand that when we say 349, let's say they would approve 349, it means you can go up to 1,000, right? That's the minimum you have to provide.
The provision says, quote, it's section 17A of the bylaw, it was included in, you should have it in your materials, it says, quote, the minimum total number of parking spaces provided on the site shall be 380 parking spaces. That's the provision. So we're looking at that to say, instead of 380, 349. That is, you could put 1,000 spots and it would comply with that, right? So am I gilding the lily? I think I am, but I would ask you to have some I wouldn't be asking it for no reason, although I think the bylaw should be clear. You might be surprised to know, having been to this rodeo before and having dealt with a lot of zoning examiners in the city, maybe every single one at some point, sometimes you get funny interpretations, and that's what. When you need a building permit and you're on deadlines to have to come back to the committee or something to add the word minimum, I'm just trying, I know I might be gilding the lily, but there's not a zero chance that I could have someone have a funny interpretation of that, right? And someone sometimes experienced has a different, and if I may be so bold, the chair has a slightly different interpretation. These are the things I want to erase any doubt that I could always go to 380, which the bylaw allows. We're clearly allowed to go through. That's why I'm asking. Maybe it's over abundance of caution, but I'd like to be a little more cautious if I can be.
I have a question.
Please.
You've said, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you're going to get rid of the parking stackers, the 35 parking stackers. Is that correct?
The difference will be made up with the removal of parking stackers. I'm not sure it's the removal of all the parking stackers. I think they'll remove some of the parking stackers. I think there might be more parking.
Because 35 parking stackers would equal 70 cars.
Well, no, but the stacker goes in a spot. So you have a spot below and a spot. So you remove the stacker and you can still park in the first. You didn't remove that spot. The upper, you remove the upper, not the lower. We're keeping the spot lower, right?
Okay.
And it's big enough that it could accommodate, it's already built, it could accommodate the stacker. And so in the future, I'm just saying, if anyone wanted to, you could slide that back in, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify.
Point taken, yeah. It's not like we're closing that area up or something, or not built, the building's built, right? So,
Sure.
yeah.
Have any further questions? We have a motion?
Yeah, a motion to approve. And I accept the word changes just in case.
Thank you. Thank you.
He's a very conscious man. So.
Thank you.
Okay, so your motion approves in this
To be
case.
349 a minimum of 349 parking spaces will be provided.
Do we have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Thank you.
You have your approval, sir.
Thank you so much.
Now we're going back to number 21. Is number 21 here? Yeah, come forward. Okay. Purpose of this application.
Anybody here who's in opposition to this application, you should come and sit in the front row. And if you have a spokesperson, we'd appreciate that one person speak.
Okay, the purpose of this application is to alter the existing two-story townhouse by constructing a rear two-story addition. We have before us in this application material submitted by the applicant, email correspondence from Heritage, support from
13 was the latest count.
13, 5 signature petition, form letter, opposition from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Addresses appear to be all on Wellesley Street. Your name, sir?
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Sava Miokovic, the agent and designer for the requested minor variances.
Have you met with your neighbors outside?
We've met with these neighbors, yes.
Have you been able to resolve their concerns?
Unfortunately not.
Okay. All right, so perhaps you could just tell us about this application.
Sure, absolutely. So we're proposing a modest 14-foot rear addition to the existing row house. The homeowners have actually lived in this house for 30 years, and their house is simply too small. They've outgrown it. Their daughter is going to be entering her teens soon, so they would greatly need an extra bathroom and a larger bedroom. The current third bedroom is a nursery, so this would accommodate that extra space. The proposed addition is on a narrow lot, as you can see, as is the prevalent lot in the neighborhood. So it's really any addition here essentially triggers a variance. It's almost unavoidable. So I'll just speak quickly to knock it off the list. Item 2 regarding the deck variance. That's an existing deck. We're actually building back and cutting out of it. So the deck will be unchanged, but we thought it would be safe just to include it as a variance to make sure there's no issues for permits moving forward. So more importantly, let's move on to item number 4, which is the side yard setback.
We don't have an item number 4. I don't think. I've only got 3 variances.
Yes. I can refer to the notice of public hearing. So there's 3 variances, so I'll speak to the side yard setback variance. So the proposed side yard setback on the west side is 0 meters, which is the variance asked for. So you can see there on the site plan, we've set back the east side of the property to nearly line up with the existing house. But again, because of the narrow lot, to make the addition a width that could actually be functional, it comes at the expense of 1 side yard setback. But as mentioned previously, if we look at this next slide, here's a depiction of all the neighboring parcels of land with the red dot indicating our lot. So you can see that all the lots in this area of Cabbagetown are very skinny. And you also notice that a 0-inch side yard setback is a prevalent condition for the majority of all these houses, whether they be detached houses, semi-detached houses, or row houses. So let's move on to the building depth variance. And I'm just going to pull up this slide. So the proposed building depth is 16.49 meters, whereas for a duplex, or a townhouse, the maximum allowable is 14 meters. I think this variance is minor for the following reasons. First of all, it's a nominal variance. We're exceeding the depth by only 2.46 meters. That's literally 8 feet, which is very nominal. So that's illustrated on that diagram with the green line. So the green line represents the 14-meter maximum. So again, we're only exceeding that by 8 feet. Secondly, I believe this variance can be considered technical in variance. Technical in nature, and the reason being is it all relates to the building classification. Our property is technically considered a row house, even though it only shares 1 party wall with 1 neighbor to the east side. So to clarify that point, if you look at the site plan, we share a party wall with the neighbor to the east, which is at the bottom of the page, but the neighbor to the north has a 0-inch side yard setback, as do we. So it's basically 2 abutting walls, so we're not actually attached. So in essence, we're the end unit of a string of row houses. But I would argue that because of this, should we really be considered a row house or a semi-detached house, considering we only have 1 shared party wall? And the reason I want to bring this point forward is that if we were a semi-detached house, the allowable building depth is actually 17 meters. So what we're proposing here would actually be we would actually be compliant. So that red line on the diagram indicates the 17-meter depth allowance. So essentially, our neighbor to the west could, as of right, build up to that line. So for that reason, I think this needs to be considered when considering what the actual allowable depth would be appropriate for this property.
What's the difference between a townhouse and a semi-detached when you're only attached to one house?
Exactly. I went back and forth with the zoning examiner at great length to clarify this point, and he said in his ruling we would be considered a part of the row house, even though we have only one shared wall. So we're actually the end unit of a string of 3 houses that are attached. So the building to the east has a shared party wall on both sides, and then the building to the east of the building to the east is the end unit of that string of 3 houses. So there's 3 houses attached, and we're the end unit on one side.
I think you explained well about why it is minor.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we can hear about the opposition.
Sure, let me speak to the other points. So I think another point that was come up with their neighbors was that we would be setting a new precedent for how far back this wall, rear extent of the building would go, and that's not correct. So let me pull up this next slide. Oh, sorry. Let's focus on the bottom map first. So the blue is the addition to our house, and then the red is the footprint of the house a few doors over. So that red dotted line basically is highlighting the rear extent of that neighboring house. And I just want to show how modest and how far back we are from that rear extent. So we're not in any way setting a new precedent for how far back a building would be. And the image above gives you kind of some more general context. So highlighted here with the red arrow is that building. So if we drew a line across, it would fall somewhere here. So you can see that our rear yard, our building depth would be well short of that established benchmark. Moving on to the next point, that relates to the precedents in the neighborhood. So we decided to do our homework because we knew this could potentially be a contentious. We knew we'd have some opposition. So here's a precedence map.
Fortunately, we need to let them speak now. I think we heard enough of your point, and it's kind of justifying, but we need to hear about the opposition because of the timing. We only have 5 minutes.
Oh, I didn't.
I forgot to time it, but definitely you have passed. I was actually checking the clock. But
could I have just 1 more minute?
Okay, we'll just
do
it quickly.
So here's a map of the precedents where variances approved for both the side yard setback and building length in a 500 meter radius of the subject property. Mm-hmm. And this gives you some of the metrics. I apologize, it is hard to read. But I would point out that item number 9 and 15, which is 495 Sackville Street and 21 Amelia Street, are both row houses that were permitted depth as well. And another point here, just to show it a bit further. Here's a depth variance granted at 20 Salisbury Avenue down the street, 18.44 meters, much more than what we're requesting.
Just to let you know, that wouldn't really affect your decision because they have all different site-specific context, right? Exactly.
There's no precedence for this in the neighborhood, so I just wanted to clarify that point.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
We have a spokesperson from the opposition.
Hello, my name is George K.
Come up to the podium first before you start speaking.
Good afternoon, my name is George K. I'm one of the first speakers. And
how many speakers are we having?
Just 2.
Okay.
And I'm going to keep my presentation to exactly 5 minutes. As I said, my name is George K. My wife, Ann, and I live at 380 and have been there for 37 years. I want to stress that our small enclave is more than just a neighborhood. We consider these people close friends and family.
So are you next door? Is there a 382?
There's a 382, and I'm 380.
Okay, thank you.
What we are looking for here is a compromise. I shall not reiterate all the valid points of opposition that my neighbors most directly affected by this have submitted so far. They are far more eloquent than I. Instead, I would like to prefer to bring a few key points to the committee's attention. Anne and I were the principals of a design and visual firms for over 35 years. We know from this experience how challenging it can be to truly visualize the real physical impact of a design from a mere figure or from a two-dimensional drawing. This is particularly true when considering a three-dimensional structure. With this in mind, we took a series of photographs from the backyards of 4 of the adjacent properties west of number 384 and from Summerhill Street, and constructed with the aid of perspective a before and after mock-up of the proposed structure. Going through the first 4 pages, that's number 1, it becomes evident the impact this proposal will have on all of the adjacent properties, something that some of the people who express support for this proposal would be not aware of because they have never seen our backyards or what goes on there. So as we go through number 2 and 3, this is the view from 378, subsequently 380. And then we get to page number 4. This is the view from the property right next and adjacent to 384. And you can see the appearance of this wall, which looks like, and what it's going to look like, and begin to extrapolate what effects it's going to have. For the past several summers, our thermometer located in the shady part of our back porch routinely exceeded 30 degrees Celsius. This proposed new structure attached to the back wall of 382 will create a cul-de-sac thermal inferno in the summer months, rendering the use and enjoyment of our outdoor spaces unbearable. Number 5. This page illustrates the plans submitted by the people or neighbors from 384. And I would like to make just 2 points regarding to this. Number 1, as the plan indicates, both 82 and 86 have additions to the rear of their buildings. These rear additions very closely observe the maximum permitted 40-meter depth allowed by the bylaws. See the dashed line, please. And they have been there for decades and constitute, as far as we're concerned, the established character of our enclave. And number 2 is, the point is that what the plan neglects to show with this proposal is a true violation of what it makes to the bylaws. So page 6, please. Page 6 shows that the requested variance of an extra 2.46 meters constitutes a huge 7.5% invasion into the maximum permitted depth of a townhouse under the bylaw. Furthermore, the proposed 0.05 meter, which is basically 1/8 of an inch, of side yard setback requested constitutes a phenomenal 88% violation of that same bylaw. Looking at the green block, the maximum allowed, and comparing it to the red block, the proposed one, it is impossible to consider anything meriting the term minor. Finally, page 7 is a view from the actual street of Sackville, overlooking, I believe, about 7 or 6 properties, and at the end is the actual proposed addition that is going to go on. And you can see that this image, there is no precedent for this type of intrusion within our own enclave. Number 8, the fabric and feel of this neighborhood is much more than unique architectural Victorian facades from curbside, or the charming gardens that it hides for enthusiastic tours yearly. It is the ebb and flow of civic life that goes on in our backyards that enhances life in Cabbagetown. This is where we meet our neighbors, we have conversations, share our barbecue and baked goods over low fences, in some cases, no fences at all. This is where we can keep an eye on the safety and security of our neighbors' properties. This is where the sound of actors rehearsing melodies and people playing the piano or plucking a guitar in the evening can be heard and enjoyed. This is where the laughter of children can be heard. This proposal is like a guillotine that will forever sever this fabric and this relationship, not just for those who live here now, but for all future generations of residents to come. The submitted letters of approval and objection clearly...
Your time is up. Please wrap up now.
I am wrapping up. What I'm trying to say, the submitted letters of approval and objection clearly demonstrate how this issue is polarized once a harmonious and coexisting neighborhood. But of all the submissions submitted, 2 houses are in support and 6 are against. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Roman. I live at 421. I am not in the immediate area impacted by this, but I have been asked to speak for Ray and Dominique Prince, who live in the house immediately to the west of the house under discussion. And Ray is suffering a very an illness that weakens him, and his wife, English is a second language, and she'd prefer not to speak. So,
what is the number of their residents?
They're at 382.
Thank you.
Just to the west. So I appreciate your allowing me to do this. But first, I had just some brief notes, and I will stick to that. But I wanted to respond to some of the things that were said by the people proposing, by the architect. He said he could have more distance at the back if he was not a row house. My point to that is he is effectively in a row house. Second point, that everybody, there's no setback in Cabbagetown. Well, there isn't a lot at the street level, but as you move to the backyards, as far as I know, the setbacks are generally enforced. So I dispute that point. And I also object, really, to the precedent map that does not apply directly to this situation and the 3 or 4 or 5 houses that are affected. Because every situation, as the committee well knows, is very situational, very different, and affects people in very different ways. So I object to all 3 of those points. But what I want to emphasize in a positive way is that Ray and Dominique are the people most affected by this proposed construction. It is on their lot line only. It's not on the lot line to the east. And the people on the lot line to the east don't object. And I don't think that's a surprise. So there's no setback. I think that's a major point. And we don't believe, and I'm really trying to speak for them. I'm using their words as they were given to me, and I'm quoting from Ray's letter. So this is not, I agree with them, but I'm trying to represent their views. These are not minor variances. As I think George has well demonstrated. As the committee well knows, their bylaw requires setbacks for a reason, particularly in the tight neighborhood demonstrated earlier, because the point is we don't want to impose on each other. We want to respect each other. And this is what Ray and Dominique feel very much and very strongly, that this is an imposition and would be a major loss for them, and I'll explain very quickly. So as you know, in Cabbagetown, because of that lack of setback towards the street on the first floor, there's very little light, there's no light, basically, except at the front and the back. This building, the proposed large building, Ray says in his letter, and it's an approximate, but I think 80–90% of their daylight will be imposed upon as they look out that window, and I want to say something about that window. The daylight will largely be compromised by that building. They'll look out the window and they'll see a big building. That room, that kitchen room, has come down to be in their lives the most used room in their house. It's the center of their lives, and they're in their 80s. They've lived there for over 40 years, I don't know, something like that. They have their meals there, and they entertain their friends there. This I do have direct experience of. There's a table right in front of the window with chairs, and that's where they entertain. It's the center of their lives.
You're coming up to...
Yes, sir.
Please
I
wrap
got
up.
you. I got you. There is a point about real estate value, but the major point that Ray makes is the enjoyment of their lives. And this will be a major loss for Ray and Dominique at the very center of their lives. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Applicant.
All right, so I have a moment here to speak back to those points.
Yes.
Okay, great. First of all, I appreciate the effort to make those perspectives, but I'd have to point out, I'd have to question the general, accuracy of the lines and where those are actually placed. Just to correct you on that, the neighbor to at 382 Wellesley Street East can actually build to 17 meters, not 14 meters. And I just wanted to point out in terms of the neighborhood. So we've done a substantial canvassing of the neighbors ourselves. And as you see on record, we have 13 letters of support. But just to give you some more specific context there, the green dots there represent all submitted letters of support for application in the immediate vicinity. That includes our neighbor immediately to the east, immediately 2 doors to the east, immediately 3 doors to the east, as well as you can see the 4 neighbors directly across the street submitted letters of support as well. And if we zoom out a little bit, here's a map of additional letters of support kind of further away. So you probably read some of the comments, and I won't bother highlighting them all, but I think the question comes up about whether or not this is an appropriate development. And I just wanted to highlight one of the comments from the neighbor at 472 Wellesley Street East. So again, the same street. So reading there, he wrote, "In our view, the variances are modest and representative of the redevelopment of housing stock in this neighborhood." So again, we were very sensitive to the neighborhood, to the context. We tried to propose something here that is modest and in keeping with the zoning bylaws. There is a technical variance at hand in terms of what the building depth allowed is. We're not going any further back than the precedents in the immediate block itself. We're well within the other depth variances granted further away. So we did try to find that happy compromise that, would meet their needs.
Do those depth variances all relate to townhouses?
No, there's a mix of variances there. And the point I want to make there, so if we pull up, for instance, for instance, here's 20 Salisbury Avenue, which is literally, right around the corner. A depth allowance of 18.44 meters was permitted by the Committee of Adjustment.
So is that a townhouse or a semi-detached?
This here is a semi, but the point I want to make here is if you look at the condition of the lot and the buildings on that lot, what is actually the difference between that and our proposed property? At the configuration of that lot versus the configuration of our lot, it's the same condition.
Yeah, but we can't see how far back beyond the other house, the adjoining house or the next door house that addition is.
So again, here's the prevailing condition in the neighborhood of the houses and the depth. So here's our property. You can see, for instance, further down the street, it's pushed back.
Can you take out your survey?
So here's the site plan of the house.
Because to clarify, you are basically the house at the top, right?
Sorry, I can't.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're representing them, right?
Yeah.
So where is their house in this?
Yeah, let me show you where the kitchen window is. Thank you.
He asked you where the house was, not the kitchen window.
The kitchen window is right there.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I have
when
it.
you look at
I
it, you
just
see
want-
the trees and the grass.
Yeah. Okay.
Right there.
Understood. Now, To be honest with you, I think by just looking at your justification, it is minor to me, but I do have to respond to the, concern, because if the concern is valid. So can you explain to them and us, if you are not going to apply for any minor variance, if you're just going to build with what you are allowed, are you still going to block the window?
Yes, let me pull up the diagram to reference that.
Yeah, maybe you can show it directly on here. Just show a line where it will be, and
So this here is the 14-meter, the green line there represents the 14-meter depth. So if we built a rear addition to the maximum depth allowed, we would still be blocking that window.
Setback.
So I can't remember if the
because
protocol...
I think that's what they are thinking you are lying about. Is I don't know if you're lying or not, but I think you have to clarify that if you are going to build accordingly,
right?
Assuming you use the same diagram, the green line is where you are allowed. So basically, you'll be having the same depth as their house.
Right, that's the 14-meter depth for a row house. But if it was a semi-detached house, to my point, so we have one shared wall, we could build up to the red line.
Yeah,
so
well,
actually, Ray would actually be allowed to build up to the red line as of right.
Yeah.
Because he's a semi-detached house with only one shared party wall.
You're not doing that.
Sorry, a detached house. A detached house also has a 17-meter. So as of right,
Let's say you are a row house. If you're a row house, you are, because effectively you are, right? That's the problem. And even the city look at it that way. So
right.
As the committee, we cannot overturn the decision from the from the city staff decision. So we will, from this point, have to look at it as a row house, even though if you disagree. So if that's the case, are we using the green line? The green line is the row house limitation.
That's right.
So what I'm asking you is, it will be still blocking the kitchen window.
That's correct. It will be. Yes.
So where, I just want, I'm sorry, Aaron, I just want to clarify.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is this the green line here?
No, the green line is this one.
Back here? The green line is this one. Oh, that one.
That's one. So I'm trying to see that even if they don't apply for minor variance, they will be still blocking the kitchen window.
Yeah.
And I think for your interest, we shouldn't continue to talk about the red line, because it's not going to be considered from our point and from your neighbor. So if you're comparing your line to the green line, can you describe how you would affect them? Is it a significant or is it a minor?
Yeah, if their principal concern is blocking light from the east, an addition at the green line or the red line would have the same result.
No, it would not. No, it would not.
All right, sir, we're hearing from him. Please don't.
Okay. Because that's basically the dispute is all about, right?
That's the issue.
Yeah, but in terms of, the only reason I was raising the point about the building classification is that the lot and the building on the lot and the neighboring properties is the same here as it would be elsewhere, where, depths of up to, 18 meters were approved. And we're asking for something substantially less at 16 and a half.
Yeah,
so in no
to 17. They're, as of right, they can build 17.
That's right. Our neighbor has,
we have to accept, as Mr. Chen said, we have to accept the city's designation of your house as a townhouse.
But you will note that city planning didn't submit any comments of objection. I think that's worth pointing out. Furthermore, we've consulted with.
Doesn't mean they approve. That's the problem, right?
Well, I think if they had issue with it, they would have submitted comments.
If they have no comment, they might just mean agreeing with the zoning examiners because they talk to each other. I mean, you've done many applications like me before. The zoning examiner always consult with planning, and there's a planning manager to go ahead and then come up with the zoning notice, and that become part of your variance. There's a system to make that definition. So like I explained to you 5 minutes ago, the more you talk about this townhouse definition, the more likely we will reject it. Because you are asking us to object the city staff work.
Right. But
so again, from this moment, for your benefit, continue only on the green line in your application.
Sure.
I'm just going to make a proposal for reject if you keep talking about the townhouse.
Okay, I understand.
There's no point to discuss.
I understand.
Excuse me, can you remind me, are you the agent or the owner?
I'm the agent. The owner is here behind me.
Okay. I think this is an incredibly unfortunate situation. These people have to live right next door to each other and share a party wall. And what I would like to know is, what have you done as the agent and the owner to try and at least minimize some of these concerns? Have you done anything at all to deal with these neighbors' concerns?
If you don't mind, I'll have the homeowner speak to that point.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do I have 5 minutes then?
No? No, just answer the question.
Sorry, thank you. I think well in advance of putting this application into the city, we invited Ray and Dominique into our home where we've lived beside them for 20 years and talked them through the rationale for this. To answer your question really quickly, because I know time is tight, I have been very clear that whatever they want on the side, I can live with. I will spend the money to have something that is attractive for them. So I've tried to do that, and to Sava's point, I haven't gone back, pushed the limits here. I've really tried to build only what I need, which is that second bathroom, rather.
So how deep is this in the room that you're adding on?
I'll answer that question. I'll pull up the second floor plan. So here's the second floor.
Bedroom or a bathroom?
So you can see there we've added a second bathroom because it's a 3-bedroom house. And then the length of the room, it's a 13-foot room.
Is that all a bathroom?
No. So there's a separate bathroom. So where the second bathroom towards the back of the house is, that used to be the bedroom, basically the size of a nursery. So we've added a second bathroom and then enlarged what was the nursery to a full-size bedroom with a closet.
So can you just help me? If you're going to put the green line, where's the green line going to go?
Yeah, sure, I can help you with
Roughly show
that.
me.
Roughly, absolutely. So the green line would effectively be here.
I see.
Which would basically make it not possible. Excuse me. So we tried to, like I had mentioned, we only enlarged it as much as was needed. We really were trying to limit the length of this addition, but to create to turn a nursery into a proper bedroom and to add a 3-piece washroom with a shower, not even a tub, this is the length that it came to. So it's quite a modest proposal we have here. I think it might be being blown up to something bigger than it actually is.
Okay, thank you, sir. Do you have any more questions, Aaron?
Well, I wish you have a sun chart diagram to explain to that how the sun shadow works with these different variances. But for my judgment, I think, seriously, from that green line to where you're proposing, if it is on the east side, that means from 6 a.m. to 12, that angle, it still will be blocking you, even if they follow exactly what the green line is. And in fact, what they are proposing now, I understand that it is a little bit it's almost doubling than what is allowed. I understand it affects the window, but the effect of view is going to be the same if they build as on the green lines. On the green line, they will be the same as what they are doing now. That's how I look at it.
Setback, that's allowed, and the green line, that's allowed. It would make a substantial difference from that kitchen. You'd have to sit in the room to see it, but they would see more of 2 backyards. They get a lot of daylight, not as much as they'd like and not as much as they had. They understand they have a right, certainly, to build. But without the setback and at that length, it's a wall. You can't see past it.
And is their house the one that can build all the way to 17?
It is.
Oh, okay. So in order to maintain that, you have to build yourself. All right.
And not only that, but on the 3rd story, there's actually a window facing our lot that is actually not code compliant. So there is some additional light that goes to there.
On the 3rd floor.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we take it into committee now, unless you have any more questions. I think you know the issue. Okay, do we have a motion?
Okay, so now my motion is to approve, mostly because I see that the development trend over here, because it can actually go to 7 meters. I'm looking at the overall massing of the whole block. By looking at that point, I don't think his development is major. It's really a minor adjustment based on, I know it affects you, but the effect is going to be minor. If you're looking as a construction of a building, I think this is how city develops, and I think this is at least what I understand the official plan and the city's development. I think I will approve it based on that.
Do we have a second? All in favor? Have your approval, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Number 24, 53 Palmerston Avenue. Purpose of this application is to alter the existing 3-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a rear 2-story addition with a 3rd-story deck above. And we have before us material submitted by the applicant and staff reports from Planning and Transportation. Your name, sir?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Marin Zabzuni, and I'm the agent for 53 Palmerston Avenue.
So, did you talk to your neighbors? Or?
We actually requested to speak with them outside. They denied the opportunity. I'm not sure why, but we tried.
So you therefore don't know what they're...
We don't know. We tried to find out, but we don't know.
So perhaps you could give us a little presentation, tell us what you intend to do and why?
Yes, focus on why it is a minor application.
So we're proposing a 2-story rear addition. We have 4 variances. Starting with the first one, we're allowed 17 meters, and we're proposing 18.52 meters. Now, both neighbors are longer than us, than our proposed addition. Their existing additions are both protrude out more. Speaking to 55 Palmerston, it's 4.42 meters past our proposed addition. And 51 Palmerston is at 0.3 meters past our proposed addition. We have an existing garage just like the neighbors. And essentially, the length is only about 5 feet more than the zoning allows, is what we're proposing. So in terms of variance number 2, item number 2, is gross floor area. We're allowed 1 times the area, and we're requesting 1.01. It just ended up being that way with the design. It's very minor, I understand that, but it ended up being 1.01. In terms of the side yard setbacks, for the remaining items, on the new bylaw, we do comply. It's the old bylaw that this gets triggered. We try to stay in line. It is a narrow lot, so we try to stay in line with existing walls within our property. And also we have no side windows on the proposed additions because of fire code issues. We would need a fire shutter to do so. So we're trying to bring in a lot of light from the rear as much as we can, because it is dark in the house currently. And essentially, that's our proposal. Planning is in support on condition that we have privacy screens for the proposed balcony. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, any questions, or should we go to the neighbors?
Sure, that this is number 20. Okay, yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. We have a spokesperson. Are you speaking on behalf of the 2 of you?
No, I'm speaking on behalf of my other neighbor here, Thomas Sanofsky.
Okay.
And we comprise the two neighbors on either side of this property.
Okay, what's your name?
My name is Darlene Giroux, and I'm one of the owners at 55 Palmerston Avenue. I own that with my husband, Owen Ritchie.
Okay.
So-
What is your concern? What are your concerns?
Well, I have a number of concerns with this, some of them more egregious than others. So I'm just going to address the variances right off the bat. The depth, they're asking for 5 feet further. I think that's a lot considering the size of the current house. The floor space that they're asking for seems negligible on paper, but in fact, I feel that it's based on a flawed formula, considering that the most recent renovation to this property illegally converted the ground floor of the building to living space, so I don't think that should be counted when you're doing this. The setbacks on the north side, that'll impact my house, and that's my property line. So going straight out there, they're basically asking for no setback. It's less than an inch. I have 9 windows on that side of my house. I've lived there for 25 years. I really enjoy the light that provides my house. And this will severely diminish the light into my house. It will also obliterate the views of the CN Tower, which I've enjoyed for 25 years. Now, that might seem sentimental, but in fact, I've asked a real estate agent, and apparently this will adversely affect my property values out of 8 windows on the south side of my house. Tommy, they're also asking for this negligible setback on Tommy's, the south side lot, and I feel that that's not acceptable there either, as he's endured a lot of indignities on that property line from successive owners. Just mostly disrespect, where they've taken the fences down and replaced them on their own whim or laminated them to his existing fences. Enough is enough. Also, the roof deck, which they're asking for on the 2nd floor, tantamount to a 3rd floor, would be directly outside my bedroom window, and I just don't think that's acceptable. Also, the plans very clearly show that they are planning to excavate, well, I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're going to put a basement in underneath that addition. The permits in no way address this, but I would imagine that they're going to have to excavate for that. Now, according to, my major issues are the sheer size and bulk of this addition will overwhelm the lot and cast great shadow on my house. They might not have any windows on their side, on the north side of their building, but that's the south side of my house, and it has had 9 windows there for 150 years or something, 1878. This will severely impact my enjoyment of my house. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm there all the time. In fact, you could consider it my workplace. I can't imagine the difference it's going to make in my life without that light there. Also, it will, the neighbor sent me a letter. I guess this is his way of trying to mitigate any of these issues, but I would point out that the letter was sent to me maybe 3 weeks ago. He applied for these permits in June. He hadn't even taken possession of the property, but his letter very clearly states that the house is very small. It is definitely too small to raise a family, but he says he hopes to raise the kids he may one day have. So that's all, theory that he might do that. Right now, looking at the plans, it appears to me that he's not really renovating it in order to make it more amenable to a family. In fact, it looks like he's renovating out a bedroom and just increasing leisure space in the house. He's putting in the basement with a separate entrance, which obviously could be used as short-term rental at any time. He claims that the entire construction process will happen in his backyard with trades and equipment coming through his standalone garage, causing zero disturbance, debris, and garbage in front of the house. Well, I go out my back door and through my garage at least 10 times more than I do my front, so this really doesn't help me at all. I've already lived through a recent renovation on this property.
We can't deal with construction issues. We're only...
Okay, but I'm just saying, none of this rings true to me. It impacts my decision to be here today. And also, the most current renovation on this property, which happened in 2017, the contractor and the developer who bought that house applied for bare minimum permits for inside work only with no structural issues. And what ended up happening was they converted the main floor of this property, which was...
I really want to help you here, but it will be more helpful if you focus on comparing not now to the development, because there will be some development anyway, right? If they don't apply for variance, they can still have permit and still can have all the issues that you mentioned, which not we can control here. So
all right, so I'm just trying to state there's a precedent set on this property
out
that...
at 17 meters, let's say if they build exactly at 17 meters, how many windows will they be blocking you? So they'll be blocking you 8.
8. The only window that won't be impacted is my mudroom, which I literally take my shoes off in.
I think you don't understand. They're entitled to 17 meters as of right. They're asking for 18.52. What Mr. Chen is asking you is if they built as of right to 17 meters, how many of your windows would be impacted?
7, 6 then.
Okay. Yeah. All right, thank you. So... But I just want to explain to you, this is how the system, how we, judge the case. It's not from 0 to what they are proposing, but it's from what they are entitled to what they're proposing. Just to explain that to you, the rationale. Okay.
All right.
Maybe because of the timing, we will have to let the second person to express. Thank you.
Oh no, I'm speaking for Tommy actually.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So is there someone else? Madam, did you want to speak? No, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So,
okay.
Thank you. Respond.
So the sun is coming from the west. Having sun exposure from the top, there shouldn't be any significant impact on both neighbors in terms of shadowing. As for the building length, we're still proposing less than both our neighbors have as of current existing. It's quite a significant difference with 55 Palmerston, and then 53 is minor. Yes.
Can you just show me how likely it will be a 17 meter?
Yep.
So if you're not coming here today, you can still build up to here. That's the point,
correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And you wouldn't even have any problem with the square footage because that automatically reduces.
1%, yeah.
So I just want to explain to you that
So where is
it's not that major in that case, and this is how we look at it.
Where is the as-right line?
I just drew that line.
Can you point it to her? Yeah.
The property to the top of the page that looks staggered.
So that's the existing house. So number 55 goes over 4.42 meters past our proposed addition right now. That's existing already on site.
Not of the proposed site, but the number 55 is a sort of staggered line that goes up. Is that the existing
footprint?
Yes.
55?
Yes.
And the one below, it's also staggered, but doesn't go out that far.
Yes, still a little bit further. Yes, this existing house. Both structures go out further in terms of depth.
Okay.
Even if you do what you are proposing, you will be still the shortest house out of the 3.
Correct. And also the garage on 55 Palmerston protrudes in the backyard a little bit more. So in our backyard, it's not the best view for this owner on both sides. But we're okay with that. We're just trying to do something that we believe is not too much for what we're asking. The owner actually sent 32 letters to the neighborhood to be very transparent. We were making efforts. We've worked with planning, and we believe that the variances are minor in nature, and city planning seems to support that as well.
Yeah, and are you all aware that the balcony has a restriction that you will need to, if it is being approved, that there will be a 3 meters fence?
Yes, we're happy to meet that condition.
Right, 1.5 meters fence to be surrounded for privacy.
Yeah, we're happy to comply.
Okay.
Any further questions?
So today, was this the first time that you knew that these people were opposed?
Yes, we tried to speak with them outside. They refused that opportunity.
Have you spoken with them before?
No. The owner has made efforts to speak with neighbors and everyone, and he can attest to that. We sent out letters which they confirmed receiving the letter. So from the get-go, we've tried to, be open and answer any questions from neighborhoods to see if there's any concerns. And we weren't sure if there was going to be any concerns today.
What's the existing depth now?
Existing depth? .15 meters. So the house is quite small as of as it's existing. And even the first floor, family room, kitchen, there's very little room to maneuver and not a lot of light either. So the owner really requests to have more living space, especially on the main floor area, and bring in more natural light from the rear. As the sides, we can't really add side windows due to the setbacks. You would need 1.2 meters on both sides, which would cut the house in half essentially in terms of width, because it's a narrow lot. So our only way is to bring light in from the rear wall.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to move that we accept the application with 2 of the recommendations, conditions that are attached. One is from Planning Department with regard to the privacy screen on the 3rd floor balcony. And the other, which comes from Permits and Enforcement Parking with regard to the obsolete driveway within the city boulevard at the front of the address. And that be restored to soft landscape. You're aware of those, I think, yeah?
We are aware, and the owner did want to request, up to your decision, if he can leave the front yard as is, because if you notice the front yard property line...
We can't deal with the parking situation. You have to deal with the transportation.
No problem.
All right. Do we have a seconder? The motion of approval. All right, seconder, all in favor? Have your approval, sir. Are you dissenting? You're dissenting?
No.
You're approving. Okay, approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 26, 920 Yonge Street, B2. Purpose of this application is to convert a portion of the second basement level from storage space to MRI suite relating to the existing veterinary hospital on the ground floor of the 19-story mixed-use building. Before us, we have material from the applicant, and we have opposition from 1007. Suite 914 and 1408, Suite 914, both on Yonge Street. Your name, sir?
I'm Martin Schum. I'm the architect and the agent for the application.
Okay, perhaps,
have
you met with the neighbors today?
We have met with some of the neighbors. One of the parties that's here is part of the actual board, and he has been involved in this project and in meetings going back to March of this year. With me is Natasha Sapra, who is representing the VEC, which is the veterinary emergency clinic.
Okay.
As well, Patrick Greco, who is actually sitting over here, is representing the condo board that makes up this is a mixed-use condo building of 914 and 920 Yonge Street.
So is he in opposition?
No, he is not.
Okay, so tell me, who is in opposition? You two? Okay. Were you able to discuss the issues with the opposition?
We're aware of their position, and it's certainly in terms of what we believe is their position. It's an
You haven't been able to resolve.
It's not possible. No, I haven't. I'm with this gentleman here. One and two.
All right. So please. All right. Just.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Schum.
I'm not intending to do any BS here.
All right, Mr. Schum, please give us your presentation, then we'll hear from the neighbors.
Okay, so initially I wanted to provide you with a letter from the condo board, which unfortunately didn't quite make it to committee in time, so I'm providing you with a hard copy from the condo board indicating their support for the application.
Bring it forward, please.
Okay.
So we have a letter from Shibley Wrighton, dated October 22nd, 2019. Read the minor variance. Council for York Condominium Corporation, number 163.
If it pleases the committee, that is my letter. I have more copies.
Okay, well, we're just going to file this. Okay, so you want to be sure that it's, Mr. Greco, just to be sure that it's, if approval's granted, that we restrict the use to a veterinary MRI suite.
And we're in agreement with that.
Correct. Thank you.
Okay.
Sure.
You can file this letter. Catherine, thank you. All right, go ahead, Mr. Schum.
Okay. The VEC proposes to lease below-grade storage space on the B2 parking garage level. This is a multi-use building. It would require converting the existing storage space, which is now classified as non-GFA in the zoning bylaw, to commercial space, which is considered GFA even when it's below grade. This would increase the commercial GFA of the existing building by approximately 1,321 square feet and increase the FSI to 2.247, which is an increase of, these are small stats, but 0.021. And the actual variance then requests the relief to increase the commercial GFA in the property by that amount. That amount represents approximately 2% of the lot area or less than 1% of the existing commercial GFA of the property. That increase in GFA is below grade and adds no new built form.
That space is now parking?
No, it's in fact, it is a storage and loading area that is on there's 3 parking levels and it is part of that.
Okay.
I can show you a picture of it.
So who uses the storage?
It's intended, it's owned by the parking garage people, and it's used for storage. It has been actually used for storage and loading for the adjacent building for the last 30 plus years.
It's nothing to do with the tenants in the building.
Well, it was it had been used by a tenant in an adjacent building, and that building has now been taken over, so it is now available for another use. But there's a very specific reason for it being requested by the VEC. The VEC, the vet clinic, is in fact a permissible use under the zoning bylaw, and it's been located in the building since 1999. They are approximately 17,500 square feet of the commercial ground floor, and they have some basement level storage as well. The new MRI itself is required as part of their ongoing business. Currently, the VEC has an MRI and a CT scan within their space on the main floor. Due to the age and the quality of the existing MRI, they need to replace it with updated technology. And due to the nature of that updated technology, the weight of the actual unit, which is really the magnet that makes up the MRI, This is the only viable location in the building itself. It's far away from everybody else. It really poses no true impact on anyone. There is no increase in actual numbers of employees. The MRI unit, which is on the ground floor, those people will be working below. It's used very infrequently, approximately 2 or 3 times a day max. There's no increase in parking requirement. The clientele that are using this particular unit or service are the same clientele that have always been in the VEC. They are just trying to ensure that their business is competitive.
Your time is...
I am almost up. I think I will leave it at that, other than saying this is more primarily a technicality relative to the GFA, that the existing building itself, as built, was greater than the current zoning bylaw permits because the bylaw was overlaid onto the property long after the building was built in the 70s. There is no record of what the original GFA was supposed to be. There is nothing on file, nothing in archives. But this represents, as I say, a very small percentage. It has no physical impact on anyone.
Are you creating any new entrances?
No.
No, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The neighbors, do you have a spokesperson? Okay.
My name is Rafael Cabrera. I've lived in the building since it was built 44 years ago, practically. I know the building inside out. What Mr. Schum just told you when you asked him if he had conferred with any of the people, he never has. Okay. This is the first time ever in this room.
Tell us what impact this...
I looked at every document they submitted to the committee, and what's missing in those documents, they have not said that VEC is run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It never closes. That's an important function. Looking through all the plan, it's not clear how they're going to access this space from the main floor, the back of Yonge, which is McMurrick, down 2 levels, which is the 2B. To do that, I have heard they're going to be accessing our residential side of the building. The building is divided into residential and commercial. So all those things are missing, which I think a committee has to be aware of.
Well, you just heard Mr. Schum say that they're not having any new access.
Because there's no access.
Well, they have to have access if they're going to use...
Well, that's what I'm saying. They have not put where the access specifically is going to be.
All right, so we heard your point that they haven't put where it is. We'll get Mr. Schum to speak to that issue.
Right.
Do you have any other points to make?
Yes. The main issue is that they have discussed it with no owner in the building.
They have what?
They have not discussed this with any owner in the building.
Yeah, well, they're here now.
Yes.
You're here.
Yes, but I'm clarifying what he said, that he's discussed it, he did not discuss it.
Okay. All right.
Okay. He discussed it at a board meeting because this gentleman is a board member. So he has to hear it, and he's the only person that has heard it.
Okay.
But the most important thing is, I would like them to make clear to both the committee and the rest of the owners in the building how this is going to be operated. Is this going to be operated 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 a year?
That's not part of their variance. Whatever way they're operating it now, it's It's not for us. It's all we're interested in is the variance to use this space as an MRI clinic.
Yes, I understand that, but you also have to be aware of how they're going to use this variance. And as an owner, as all the owners would like to know, how is it going to be used? And we're getting no information. We have never been given any information.
I don't imagine it's going to be used any differently than their MRI room is used now, except in a different location.
That's not true.
Okay.
Yeah, you still have 1.5 minutes if you want.
Yeah, all right,
You can
come
join
forward.
Okay. First,
Your name.
We have your name and your
my
address.
name is Neve Feldman, and like they said, I'm at the board. Before I start, I just want to mention that I received 2 letters from a Bay Street lawyer trying to silence my voice. I received one yesterday and one today.
But we're not responsible for Bay Street lawyers.
Sorry. So I'm just letting you know that I'm very nervous to speak here today because of that. But nonetheless, they're not going to silence my voice. So really, I want to address like 2 things. This is going to impact, the building and the residential 2 ways. One is financially, and one is also in terms of quality of life. And really, they haven't really addressed this issue. They had an opportunity to do it at the AGM.
So tell us how it's going to impact the residents financially.
So financially, we all share in this building. Basically, we pay condo fees, and the hydro is being split by everyone. Now, when you're converting a storage room that has not been suited for like people to be in it, in terms of hydro, in terms of like heating, the machine itself, so that's going to impact it significantly. Now, they're trying to portray, like, to convey the message that they're changing one MRI for another. But this is not the case at all. They might have an MRI, a small MRI in the unit, but this is a huge MRI machine that requires an entire room just for that. Like, I would really like them to explain, like, the difference in cost between the 2 MRIs.
They're going to be paying...
No, because just so you understand the size and impact of this, like, this is not a one-to-one.
You don't have 2 different meters?
Sorry? No, there's no separate meters in the building.
Oh, okay.
That sounds like a condo board issue, a residential, commercial condo board issue to me.
Well, you're going to convert a room. You're going to convert a room. You're going to spike up the electricity.
That may be true,
Yeah.
but it's not.
No, but you're asking me how it's going to impact me financially. I'm answering the question.
Okay.
All
right.
So
how's it going to impact your quality of life in the building?
So because of the location of it, and really that is the main reason why, I'm hoping that you will not approve it. They are going, from my understanding, to move animals in the residential area, and all types of animals, from zoo animals to cats and dogs, everything. This is a huge MRI. This MRI is actually so big it's used for people, not for like small pets, just so you kind of get a sense of what they're doing. And it is pretty unique in all of Ontario. Like, there are not many of those in all of the province.
How are they going to move animals through the residential area?
I think that's a good question for them.
To ask?
You expect a zebra possibly.
They don't want to address that with the people because they don't want to give the answer to that. There's a huge impact also on parking.
Actually up, but we respect that you have something to say. Can you just sum it up and say, because you have to understand that the limitation or the function of this board is not
No, absolutely.
handle.
So I'm just going to go quickly with the rest of the issues. One, because this is a much bigger MI, I do expect more people.
How that changing of storage into a functional medical space would affect the residents of the building, rather than the dispute between...
Well, you get more animals into the building, more animals going now through the residential areas, which would never happen before. And that's something that is really impacting a lot of people, whether you have allergies or not. it's a huge impact. It's a huge impact in terms of smell, in terms of noise. Like it's a huge impact on people's quality of life that they've bought into a condo that never existed like that
If
before.
we need to ask that.
Do they go through the residential area now?
No.
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 Okay, so.
So also, in terms of like parking, I do expect, 5E is the parking area where you park. You cannot get now any more permits because it's so busy. A lot of them are actually parking illegally in our building, and I have a picture, or if you go on Google Street View, you'll be able to, because it happens you can see it all the time on McMurray Street. So we're going to get more parking. I calculated that it could be hundreds of more cars a month if you run through the numbers, like in terms of like the increase in
Sir, your time
in animals.
is up. Please sum up.
And I think those are my main concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
May I address the committee as counsel to the corporation? I might be able to hear.
You have one chance, either you or the architect will come back. If you speak, then your architect will.
That's fine.
No, but he just a minute. You're not representing the veterinarian clinic.
I'm representing the condominium corporation in which this is all happening.
All right.
But you can explain about the entrances. The power is actually not our issue, but more about the circulation and flow. All right.
So I'm counsel, my name is Patrick Greco. I'm counsel to York Condominium Corporation number 163. That is the building in which all of this is happening. And the corporation has put forth an official position, as mentioned by Mr. Schum, with which the applicants agree, which is that it does not oppose this application, subject to the imposition of a condition that any commercial use of the Unit 2 Level B, the room in question, only be for a veterinary MRI suite. With regard to conversation, discussion, etc., the unit owners, the applicants here, have had lengthy discussions with the board of directors, which administers this condominium corporation. There are a number of items which will have to be addressed going forward at various stages, including construction, alteration agreements, how use will happen, how metering will be done, etc. The board is alive to those issues, and they will be dealt with if this project continues.
In other words, the clinic is going to pay its fair share of the expenses it's going to increase.
This will all be.
That's going to cost.
That's the position that the board has taken to the applicant. There will be negotiation. There will be discussion about all of this going forward. The board, who represents everyone, is onto that and will be working through me to make those assurances. With regard to the space itself, it is a subterranean level B2 giant cinder block room, locker room, storage room. It's hard to describe because it's quite large. What the corporation would like to stress, and with which the applicants have agreed. Oh, there's a photo. So it's quite a space. Is that upon discussions with the applicant and subject to certain agreements in place, corporation does not oppose and thinks that the use for an MRI suite as adjunct to the existing hospital would not pose a problem and does not oppose. The reason to push for the condition being added is that the location of this and nature of this space and how you get to it would not be appropriate for anyone else other than the existing staff who knows the building, will not cause an undue ripple. This should not be a place for general office space or a coffee shop or anything like that. It should be limited, and I understand the applicant agrees with that condition being imposed.
So how will this space be accessed?
It will be accessed from the B1. It's hard to describe. It's a split level unit, if you will. You would come in off an elevator in B1, go through a long, dark cinder block hallway, and into a back door, which is high, and down some steps into the eventual built-out unit.
Would there be, sir, not your time to speak, would there be any interaction with the residents of the building when taking animals to and from this?
So this is my understanding. People will park and they will use an elevator. They would normally use that elevator to go to the main floor level where the vet clinic is currently located. They will probably stop one level lower on B1 and exit in an area that is a joint common area between residential and commercial for about a 20 to 30, this is rough, 20 to 30 foot area. They may mix with residential individuals because the residential laundry room is about 20, 30 feet down that hall. For the rest of the long portion of the hall, no one uses it. It's abandoned until you get to these locker spaces.
How is this linked? Excuse me. How is this linked with the vet hospital on the upper floor? An animal comes into the vet's office, needs an immediate MRI, gets rushed downstairs. How's that going to happen?
I'm not counsel to the applicants. She's probably better to
We'll hear from the applicant.
Sure.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Do you mind coming to the front?
No, just a minute. We need someone to come up with the, Mr. Schum.
I think that Natasha would be best.
Okay, all right, could you come to the podium, please?
My
The timing.
name's Natasha.
You have a last name?
Sapra. I run the facility. So the VEC operates much like a human hospital. It's for emergencies and specialty care. So regular veterinarians refer to us. In the case of when an MRI would be used, it would generally be a referral from a regular general practice veterinarian, usually to a neurologist. Generally, it's a spinal condition. They're looking for where the lameness is emanating from. Sometimes they are suddenly paralyzed. Sometimes it's due to tumor in the brain or down the spinal column. Again, I'm a non-clinician, so I'm speaking to the best of my ability. So they would come in, be assessed by the neurology team.
How do they get into the clinic?
They would come in through our front office reception area.
Right.
It would be admitted to the hospital, assessed by the neurologist. If this specific modality of diagnostics was required, if an MRI was required, an MRI would be ordered. The staff would accompany the animal downstairs to the MRI suite, sedate.
What kind of animals do you see?
Companion animals, dogs and cats.
Pardon?
Dogs and cats.
How are they going to?
What about?
Zoo animals. In the past,
All right.
you asked, and I had said that in the past we used to have a TV show. In fact, we do. It's still on NBC. We have brought in animals from the zoo to use to go through our CT scan. They brought in a sedated alligator in a crate, went through the CT looking for metal objects in its stomach because it couldn't have an MRI or those would come ripping through its skin. So in the last 10 years, I've been there 16 years, I think we've had 5. Like a wallaby and a beaver.
Is the fact that you're now getting a much more sophisticated MRI going to change the nature of your practice?
No, it will be safer for our patients. They will be under anesthetic for less time. The machine is faster. It will also ensure that larger animals like dogs, bigger dogs, Great Danes, German Shepherds, will be able to be properly diagnosed in our facility rather than coming to us, given an assessment, referred back out for another MRI in London, Ontario, or to a competitor in the city, and then back to us for surgery. So
can we just back up to the technician taking the animal, whatever that might be, from your vet's office to the MRI downstairs? We still haven't gone.
We would go down the
how
same
the route
elevator.
That's going to happen.
We would go down.
How are they going to get?
They're going to go down with the animal, the same elevator.
Down through the residential area?
No, through the same elevator that comes up from the parking garage shared area. And then down around this hallway and right into that side door that's red there where we'll have a lift to bring it down, anesthetize, scan, recover, and take back.
Great, okay. So do any of the residents use that elevator down to the parking area?
Of course.
All kinds of people use the elevator to the parking.
So they will be mixing with the residents.
They currently
going
do.
Down to the parking levels to get their car.
Yes, and they currently do now.
But it's also mostly around the laundry area.
All right, sir. Okay, so I want to know if this is a more sophisticated MRI.
Yes.
Is it going to change the nature of
No,
animals
it's
that
just
come
going-
to your clinic?
We will not have more animals come to our clinic for it now.
You're not going to be the go-to place for zoo animals or whatever?
No, most of the time our specialists go to the zoo to help there. We do that.
So you're still going to
Community
deal with dogs and cats, basically?
Yes.
But the difference between putting the MRI on the ground floor and the basement is the fact that you will have to bring the animal, use the elevator or the stairs that will be shared by someone using it. And that's something you cannot avoid.
And it
That has
currently is an
something to
elevator used by.
And that is something that has, but what you're saying is so currently there are already people using that elevator to bring animal from the parking to see you on the ground.
Yep.
But let's assume that's a yes.
Yes, of course. They come up from the parking garage through the one elevator accessible to them.
But there must be some sort of, transportation from your clinic on the ground floor to the proposed basement area. It's been approved. And I think that's what they're concerned about.
Well, and this was discussed at length with the board, at which Niv was present, and we did a walkthrough. The board are all owners in the building.
You see there's a certain, unfortunately we can't let you speak now. But I have taken your words and I'm using that as a facts to kind of come up with a logic and building a case that is fair to both of you. Because we have certain limitation of our board of functions and the way it works. I understand that you're relying on us to ban the project so that you don't have to worry about all the stuff, right? But I just want to explain to you that the 90% of things that you have mentioned is actually almost like a legal issue between you and the board. It has nothing to do with committee of adjustment, even though this is how we started, right? The only point that we might be able to look at is the health and safety for animals, sick animals, sharing a common area from point A to point B. And it looks like that is a major point of traffic for the residents. So if I'm focusing on that point, your objection does have a valid point. And I just want to be sharing my thought with you because I want to give you one more chance, or maybe even your architect or yourself, you can decide who's going to make that final explanation is how can you ensure or at least minimize the impact of the sick animals and the normal residents encounter? How do you kind of minimize that and make it work? Because it's a 24 hours running clinic, right? So that's.
We wouldn't run the MRI 24 hours. That's run with a specialist. The vet clinic is a 24-hour facility there for the last 20 years. We've used the same elevator with the residents for those 20 years. My understanding from the owner of the parking garage of the 300 parking space capacity to garage, only 17 residents actually have monthly parking passes in it.
We're looking at it from a public health safety issue. Again, I'm sorry, time's up for you. But they do have one more point or one more chance. And you can also add more questions.
Just a quick question. Animals generally that require the use of an MRI, do they suffer from contagious issues?
Sorry, pardon?
Do they suffer from contagious issues?
No.
Good.
No.
Thank you.
A neurological disorder, a slip disc or a brain tumor.
Exactly. So
yes.
they're not contagious animals
No.
sharing elevator with.
No.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. All right. So you've had your time for rebuttal, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
You accept the time.
You gave up your spot to
I see.
You'll be just standing here waiting for our business friend.
Yeah.
I simply just want to say one thing, and that is the nature of the variance that we're requesting is really what we should be focusing on.
Yeah.
There are many stages where concerns of residents will be dealt with, but the condo board has already reviewed these, and we have.
Yeah, but we have to be concerned about the impact
of the.
No, thank you. Okay.
They will clarify for you.
No. All right, thank you very much. Okay, do we have, if you don't have any further questions, is there any, do we have a motion?
You have a question to him or? No?
I'd like to propose that we accept the application as requested.
All right, do we have a seconder?
If I may, would that be subject to the condition which both sides have agreed on, but which was not? But the applicant actually indicated support for the condition.
Through you, Mr. Chair, then that puts the onus on the city to have to go and inspect to make sure that it's an MR. If you're the condo and you have a lease with them, that would be up to you to ensure that that's what it's being used for.
Condo doesn't lease to anyone. They own someone else. The applicant owns the unit and rents it to the hospital. The condo must ensure the general oversight of the site.
We don't have, we can't impose that condition because we can't police it. That's the problem.
Well, the application is for, the purpose of the application is, but the floor space is for, it's increasing the floor space index. It's not tied to use, it's just you're using.
Section 45 planning does, as conditions have been rendered earlier.
Provided that they're enforceable and related to the variance.
It's if I may submit, it's directly related to the variance because it's
The committee's not dealing with the use. They're not dealing with the
as a commercial space.
They're not dealing with the use. They're dealing with expanding the commercial floor space or the mixed-use building floor space.
That's how the bylaws is written, and for that reason, even though we are trying to address some specific issues, but it also opened the window for a lot of things. And that's why the agreement of being only an MLI will only be between you guys.
I will leave it to the committee members to decide if you want to put that in. My only concern is
execution.
Who's policing that it's going to be used as an MRI?
That submission applies to any zoning of any city. Some policing, someone has to.
But there wasn't an application to change. There was no bylaw that said you can't use it as an MRI, and so there's no variance with respect to a change of use from storage to MRI.
No, currently the building wouldn't accommodate. It doesn't have enough GFA to accommodate this use, and it should only be accommodated if it's for a single use.
So you made a motion to approve and no seconder. The motion fails. Do we have another motion?
No, actually, if you put the motion again, I'll. Yeah, with the no, I don't think that condition makes sense at all. I just want to add a word and said I really feel for you, but it's really not something this board can help you based how this board is formed. So you will have to be more active at the board and get the best out of it.
All right. Here, could you make a motion again?
Sir, I'd like to propose that we have a motion as the application as requested.
All in favor? Okay. You dissent?
I'm opposed.
Okay. So your application's approved. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have a group that's going to be here contesting an item in the 2:30 time slot, and they're going to request that they be heard first.
They're going to request.
They have issues that they need to leave,
Okay.
so they would like to have it heard first. I don't know, maybe you want to vet the agenda first, take a
Well,
break, and then come back?
I'm going to vet the agenda for 2:30. Okay.
Mr. Chair, you can actually vet the, we have a 3:30? Yeah, a 3:30 as well.
Yes, 2:30 and the 3:30. All right, number 31, 225 Riverside Drive. Is the applicant here? Where? No, don't sit down. Is there any opposition to this application on Riverside Drive? No? Okay, we will hear that when the time comes. 32, 6 Saunders Avenue. Yes, any opposition? No? Okay, number 33, 329 Nairn Avenue. All right, any opposition to Nairn? 34, 152 Gilbert Avenue. Applicant, any opposition? Okay, any you're lucky you're not at a auction. All right, so any opposition to Gilbert? 35, 83 Bellwoods Avenue. All right, any opposition to Bellwoods? 36, 6 Glen. Right, any opposition? So opposition, we're gonna, pardon? Oh, okay, so.
Maybe opposed to.
So you're opposed? Yes, strongly. But, all right, the applicant's over there. Okay.
Oh.
So you want us to hear you first?
Because of the babies.
Okay, all right, but we usually hold down things that are, yeah. So why don't you go out right now, and we'll try and get to you as soon as possible. Okay, number 37, 34 Salter Street. Applicant, 34 Salter Street. Oh, this is deferred? Okay. All right. Well, who's here to defer? Is there somebody here? Oh, okay. So, all right, so we'll deal with it when we get to it. Okay, all right. So, all right, so do we have a motion to defer Salter Street? Okay, all in favor?
Who moved?
He moved, I think.
Okay.
So here, move. All in favor of the deferral for Salter Street, number 37?
Thank you.
Done. 38, 32 Hudson Drive. Yes, any opposition? No. Number 39, 5 Southridge Avenue. Applicant? Yes. Any opposition to Southridge? No. Okay, number 40, 380 Salmon Avenue. Yes. Any opposition? 330 List, number 41, 48 Morse Street. Applicant? Yes. Any opposition? 42, 354 Strathmore and 358 Strathmore. Applicant? Yes. Any opposition to either of these properties on Strathmore? No. Number 44, A, B, and C, 1320 Victoria Park Avenue. Applicant? Yes. Any opposition? Okay. We will now proceed. So we should try and deal with Glen Oak. Okay. All right. 31, 225 Riverside Drive. Purpose of this application is to construct a terrace platform, 2-level deck to the rear of the existing 1.5-story detached dwelling. Before us, we have where is the applicant? Come forward, thank you. I'm sorry, I told you not to come forward. Now it's your time. We have the material submitted by the applicant, and we have a report from Conservation Authority.
That's correct.
Okay.
And there should be an arborist report that accompanies that as well. So the current, the condition is there's currently a deck in this location, which the client would like to rebuild along the similar footprint. With the existing deck.
Existing?
There's an existing deck that's being demolished.
But is this?
This is a new deck.
0.91 meters from the east side of the lot line existing?
It is existing.
Okay, so you're not changing, you're using the same footprint.
We're using the shape, we're enlarging the upper platform slightly, and then we are decreasing the lower platform.
It does not require a variance in terms of increasing the size, it's only the side lot line.
That's
the
correct.
problem. Okay, so,
We have no problem to make a motion.
that's fine.
Okay,
She'll be
that's
marked absent. All right, so here you have to second or not second. All right, all in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Number 32, 8 Saunders Avenue. Purpose of this application is to alter the existing two-story townhouse by constructing a rear one-story addition. And we have material submitted by the applicant only. So where's the applicant? You are the applicant.
Yes.
Sir.
Joe Dome. Excuse me, I've just got over a cold. Joe Dome, 1101 Steeles Avenue West.
Okay.
Agent for the applicant. So with this application, we have an existing one-story rear addition that will be removed. We're proposing to build a new one-story rear addition, just a little bit taller ceiling with windows, and there's no second-story addition, even though the two houses right next door, number 4 and number 2, both have second-story rear additions that go out to the rear. It won't be pushing any further into the backyard, so the side yard setback and rear yard will not be affected.
So you're using the same footprint as the
That's right.
existing? So you're not, so you should have a 1.19 times floor space index now?
So right now, I mean, the GFA of the main floor alone is 50, I believe 54. The max is 48. The max here is 48.71, and existing main floor alone is 54.
Okay. So you're already over.
Yeah. And I do have photos of, so you can see in context the neighbors and how even their current existing GFA would be at the very least equal or more.
Okay, but they're not here to complain. All right.
Yeah, we have verbal agreements, not written that they're okay.
Okay. All right, does anybody have any questions, or do we have a motion?
I have a motion to approve.
All right.
I'll second that.
All in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Number 33, 329 Nairn Avenue. Purpose of this application is to legalize and to maintain the new detached garage constructed to the rear of the existing two-story detached dwelling without a building permit. We have before us material submitted by the applicant and a report from planning. Right. Your name, sir?
Okay, my name is Wojtek Stasieczek and I represent the property owner. The property located at 329 Nairn Avenue.
This is already constructed?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay with the permeable paving condition?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Pretty straightforward.
I'll move to approve the application.
All right. Subject to the condition the driveway be permeable paving?
Right. Subject to the commission that the driveway, the conditions.
All right, you satisfied with that? Okay, all in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you. (34) 152 Gilbert Avenue. Purpose of this application is to alter the existing two-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a front two-story addition. And we have with this application material submitted by the applicant. Your name, sir?
My name is Sean Jay from Archon Engineering. I'm the applicant's approved person of interest, I guess we call it. Or authorized representative, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, there There you go.
Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. Do we have, if there's no questions, we can approve, a motion for approval. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor? You have your approval, sir.
Oh, great. Thank you very much.
Number 35, 83 Bellwoods Avenue. Purpose of this application is to construct an addition to the existing shed located to the rear of the existing one-story detached dwelling. The existing one-story detached garage with access off a public lane will be maintained. We just have material submitted by the applicant. Your name, madam?
My name is Stephanie Pesser. I am the current owner of 83 Bellwoods Avenue. The previous owner filed for the minor variance, and the previous owner also built the shed.
Okay, so, and you've bought since the application was filed?
That's correct.
Okay. So,
That's a very risky purchase.
What's that?
I said that's a very risky purchase. What if we oppose?
I'm only here in hopes that I can answer your questions to the best of my ability, given the circumstance.
Is this a shed or a garage?
It's a shed.
No.
So
I imagine this is just an extension of a shed. You have a very large shed.
Yes.
See, you can answer questions.
Yeah.
All right, so do we have a motion? You have a motion to approve? Do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor? You have your approval, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, 36 is 6 Glen Oak. You're still out? Oh, okay. Yeah, well, 37 is deferred. We've already deferred it.
Right.
Okay.
So, are you ready to?
Yes, we are.
Okay. All right, so can the applicant come forward and the opposition sit in this row, front row here? Okay, the purpose of this application is to alter the existing two-story detached dwelling by constructing a rear two-story addition, rear ground floor deck, and front second-story additions, and to enlarge the rear detached garage. I think I didn't read the revised one, sorry. To alter the existing two-story detached dwelling by constructing a rear two-story addition, front second-story dormer additions, a rear ground floor deck, and by partially demolishing the existing rear detached garage and constructing a rear addition. Total garage area remains unchanged. But we need some explanation for that, but we have before us material submitted by the applicant, a report from planning, correspondence from 8 Glen Oak, 7 form letters, and opposition from 163 Glen Mount and 159 Glen Mount. The applicant here, would you come forward, please? Give us your name.
Not great at public speaking, and I'm a little rattled because of just meeting opposition.
Okay, what's your name?
My name is Anne-Marie Fleming,
Right.
Foxwood Architects, 627 Lonsdale Road, Toronto. We're the agents for this application.
Okay, can you explain to me that part of the purpose that says by partially demolishing the existing rear detached garage and constructing a rear addition? Now, you've already put in before that constructing a rear two-story addition. What does this mean, constructing a rear addition?
I have a very short explanation, but it was pre-phrased, so it would be all right if I read it? I mean, it's...
Yes.
Okay. This house at 6 Glen Oak Drive is detached, single-family, 1.5-story house with a private driveway and a detached garage. In our application, we propose to demolish a small enclosed back porch and construct a 2-story rear addition. We also propose to carve away part of the front of the house to create a front porch. And there are 2 existing dormers on the front of the house. We propose to replace those with slightly larger rectangular dormers. The garage will be reconstructed almost 6 feet to the rear. The new garage will be the same size as the existing garage.
When you say 6 feet to the rear, you mean you're going to move the garage?
To the north, to the rear,
Yes, okay.
toward the park. The new garage will be the same size as the existing, but it'll have a lower roof, and it'll have a green roof, we hope. May I bring you a couple of things that we shared with the neighbors but haven't submitted to the committee?
Have you revised plans or something? Oh.
And also, this is a landscape. So that's our.
New garage?
Yes, it was 6 feet there. We're moving 6 feet.
Have you given these, you've shared these with the
Yes.
neighbors?
And this
Okay.
is just showing the. Mostly the impact of the shadows are.
Okay. Could you put the shadow study on the overhead? Just the first page you showed us? Pardon?
Let's just use the new ones.
Oh, so this is the only copy you have? Oh, okay. All right. Go ahead, put it on the overhead, please, and
Just for the record, you have submitted a color site plan showing the surface materials proposed on site.
Yes.
And you were also showing us shadow study, and now it is on the screen.
Yeah, now it's 11 a.m. The shadows move to the west,
Okay.
to the east, rather.
Okay.
Okay. With this application, we have requested 4 variances. The first, the maximum permitted height of the first floor above established grade is 1.2 meters. In this project, we propose to have the ground floor at the same elevation as it is now, which is 1.22 meters above established grade. So for this, we require a variance. The second, the maximum permitted floor space index is 0.35 times the area of the lot. Please refer to the zoning map of the area around this site. All the neighborhoods in this area have an FSI of 0.6 or 1.0, except for the small area where this house is, the gray, which has 0.35. The red dot is the house. The third variance pertains to minimum front yard setback, which is required to be 4.5 meters. The proposed dormers on the front of the house have a projection, and so overhang the front yard setback, putting them 3.66 meters from the front lot line. Number 4, the roof eaves are not permitted to be closer than 0.3 meters to the lot line. The eaves of the altered house are to be aligned with the existing eaves, which on the west side is 0.25 meters from the lot line, and this requires a variance. In conclusion, we reviewed this project in person with more than a dozen neighbors, and we held an open house for the neighborhood 3 weeks ago to review drawings and of the proposal and answer questions. We have submitted 8 letters of support, and these include the closest neighbors to the east and to the south. This site is at the end of a cul-de-sac street, so the neighbors to the west are on another perpendicular street.
Your time is...
I timed it. It should be under 4.5 minutes. I have 2 sentences left.
Yeah, just sum up.
I will. Late in this process, yesterday, we were advised for the first time that there were height concerns from 163 and 159 Glen Mount Park Road. But the proposed alterations will not be as high as that house at 159 Glen Mount Park Road. We believe this project is appropriate and that the requested variances are minor.
You don't have a variation you don't have a variation request with respect to height. Okay, thank you very much. The neighbors have a spokesperson?
And you have more people who want to speak.
Yeah, but I don't want to hear how many you're going to have.
Okay, well, 3 families here. Quick, okay, so I just want to say, my name is Eva Karpinski.
Just a minute.
Different addresses, yeah. Okay. I live at 167 Glenmount Park Road. I've lived there for 21 years, raised my 2 kids. Eva Karpinski, just said that. And I only learned recently about this development, have never been consulted, none of our families. In fact...
Please tell us what you're concerned about.
My concern about the variance is just what you are looking at. It's very significant that you see only that area of Glen Oak Drive having 0.35 index. The rest, when you see below 0.606, these are completely different class of streets. These are working class semi-homes who occupy a lot of the site, right? So we cannot have we need to take up more space on our smaller lots. So the ones that are on Glen Oak Drive, there are larger houses on larger lots, many of them overlooking the ravine.
All right, we appreciate it.
So I'm saying there is a reason. It's not so innocent. I just want to show you this image. So this is what the language of minor variances does to our neighborhood. The street below, there are 4 families here immediately affected. There's a community of young parents, 3 households with young kids, and they support each other. This is the monster house that is growing 8 meters away from our houses, right? We're literally sitting 8 meters away from that. The height of this is going to be, for us, 33 feet, because the house is elevated 4 feet above our ground level, and they're adding another 10 meters on top of that. So what I'm saying is that the language of minor variances obscures the real scale of the proposed expansion because it only speaks about a small change from the maximum allowable, in this case it is 36, right, or 34 rather, floor space index, to the requested 0.54. Now in reality, the existing floor space index is less than 0.34. It is 0.26. The house in green is very small, it's 0.26. But it's not being expanded to the maximum allowable. It's going beyond that to 0.54. So the change from the existing house to the proposed expansion makes a huge difference in volume, and especially the volume of the roof, 9 feet high roof that is slapped on top of this regular 2-story neighborhood expansion. Now we will face a complete loss of the sky view with this 33 foot-high tower, and here is the image. This is our view from our backyard. They say we are miles away from them. But look what we will be seeing after this proposal is given your approval. That is our view. We're losing our sky view. So it is very sad that we as families directly affected by this project, facing west, haven't been consulted. Our rights as tax-paying property owners completely ignored. We hope that this can still be remedied, and you can defer your decision to allow the applicants to consider some modifications in the name of good neighborly relations that haven't been observed, and in the name of responsible planning in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, who else is going to speak?
If you don't mind, I will.
What address are you?
I am the same
this
address,
lady's
167. I am Daniel Karpinski. I'm 167. I just have a couple of other issues that I would like to address. What was already on the screen. I just want to show you. This morning I consult I consult the National Research Council Canada to create the view of the shadow. This is our shadow study. To your left, or whatever, to your right, you see the 6. Okay, to the left, this is our house, 20 feet tall, 167 Glenmount Park Road. It's definitely not as far. Our property is just 7 meters from our house, but this is the diagonal dimension between new proposed extension and our house, which is 33 feet. As I said...
Did you prepare it yourself?
Yes.
He's an architect.
Yes.
You're an architect, you're a licensed architect.
Yes. So as I said, I consulted National Research Council of Canada. I calculate according to what they provide on their website. And I realized that on June 21st, 9 o'clock in the morning, when I would like to go outside to my backyard with my coffee, I don't have to use a sunscreen because I'm totally covered. And on December 21st, this shadow is even deeper. I don't know how the shadow study was done by the other architect, but this is what I get from that. Anybody can do that, right? You don't have to be an architect. I consulted also my 2 real estate agents, and they said, yes, your property taxes will rise, but your property value will go down, probably around $100,000. And that's why I am opposing to this proposal.
Property value.
Hi, I'm just going to make this very quick. We are 159 Glenmount Park Road. We just wanted to show you that our house is not side by side to their house. It's actually facing backwards onto it. So our entire kitchen, our back bedroom, our backyard, as you can see, is facing that house. Now, if you keep in mind the...
Right, the red house is the proposed development, right?
Yes, that one at the back there with the one window. If you look at the diagram, the window that they're going to board up right there is substantially smaller than the top of the new structure that's going to be put up. In the letter they initially gave to us, which I initially was extremely grateful to receive, it misrepresented the scale of the project. So it said it was going to do a back extension, which I think we all kind of agreed, okay, we need more space in this neighborhood, it's very small. The letter actually said, in addition to that, they're going to redo the roof and change the look of the front exterior. What they didn't say is they're raising the roof, and by what degree. There's no variance listed for that.
Because they don't need a variance. They're coming within the bylaw for the height.
Okay, but you asked them why they didn't have a variance, or did they?
Well, no, so they're doing it as of right.
They're doing it as what, sorry?
When we look at your points, your argument, we have to compare what is allowed and what are they proposing, but not what is existing to what they're proposing. Because if you're looking from, let's just put it this way. If someone, let's say he decided to demolish the house and leave it there for 5 years, and then you might say, oh, anything built on the back will be covering you because it was nothing, right? So we cannot use that as an argument to say, oh, therefore we cannot allow it. We have to compare to
what is allowed in the neighborhood.
What is allowed to what they are proposing. The variance that we're looking at is the changes from what is allowed to what they're proposing.
But they didn't have that, did they?
But they do have, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
They do have that height that they are showing. They're not.
Right, it's within that limit.
The only thing that you might kind of come back to argue is if they don't have that floor index, they may not achieve that height, right? That's probably the case. So the footprint of the building will be smaller, but in terms of the volume, the mass will be smaller, but the height will be about the same. Yeah. But of course, that would affect your shadows, right? So other than the height, anything you want to be more specific, because unfortunately we have to go a bit technical on these 3 points, because everyone has the right to appeal, and this is how things work out. So I want to be very, logically and sensible with you. And
So the front part, actually, can I just, in reference to the variances, they admitted that the front part of the overhang of the front is above the variance threshold. So that is, and that's our concern because our house is, that's the one sort of, you can see through the tree there, you can see the edge of their house, that is going to protrude, and that is a variance request.
yeah.
And I'm done.
So how,
But it's,
how's it going to impact?
it doesn't impact her at all if we don't change all this three.
No, we're listening to is it your wife?
Yeah, that's my wife.
All right, so you tell us, how is this change going to impact?
It's
You're gonna see
substantially-
a bigger house?
Yes, substantially takes our skylight and our, the sky that we can see, the light. That is, I don't think if you put what they're planning to do on top of that, it's much farther out.
Because that was part of the vision.
Oh, but yeah, please go.
So my name's Colin Scott. I'm with 159 Glenmount Park Road. I'll just quickly say, what she's talking about is, I think on the variance, it talked about it coming closer to the front street in the part of it, where you see where it will come out over on this plan. It will come out over the other way, sorry guys. Right there, the portion that where it's in green line to where it's in pink will come out, and it will basically now almost cover our whole entire backyard, which is
You see that's
the sky view, right? So
you can still build that width and height without any variance.
yeah, but it was in your variance to the front as part of the permit side too as well. Part of the variance side was to go closer to the
His
road.
lot is actually perpendicular to that.
Yeah.
Your lot is perpendicular to
Yeah, we go this way, right? So
go this way, they go that way. So you're kind of at a T with them. Oh, now I get it. I thought you were back to back, and how come the front would affect
yeah,
it?
yeah. So the front affects us because if you look at where our yard is.
Oh, okay.
It talks about it in number 4 of the public notice.
Yeah.
All right.
No, it's the 3 point, there's a 3.5.
Just a minute, sir, talk to us.
Sorry.
Please.
Yeah, sorry about that. So where that dormer comes out is coming closer to the roadway. I think it was, I'll just grab this here.
So is it going to be behind the tree?
Yeah, so the altar dwelling to be located 3.66 meters from the front of the lot line, right? So that's part of it too as well. So it's coming out further. So when you look at where we are, it's coming out, and it will start to protrude out to basically cover now our whole entire backyard, because if you look at where our backyard is, that line right here where that's their house. That's where it ends. They're looking at going up and out over, which will now cover more of our backyard, which means we lose the sky.
All right, so they're going to be moving less than a meter beyond what they're permitted.
I understand that, but it's enough. It's enough for us. If you look at how small our area of our backyard is, that's what we lose. And we got 3 kids.
But it may very well be that what they're entitled to, 4.5 meters setback, would do the same thing.
Not for us in the front. We're a different variance, right? Like, we're a different side of looking out that way. Like, if you look at it from our standpoint, we got 3 kids, we got no light anymore. We have a backyard that gets closed off completely.
But if they do it as of right, you may not have any light either. I don't know.
Sorry?
You may not have any light anyhow, even if they didn't go as far as, if they only
for us right
had
now,
a setback of 4.5 meters. We're not talking about what's existing. We're talking about what they're permitted to have.
No, and I understand that. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mr. Karpinski.
You guys had up already.
Yeah.
20 minutes
There's
already.
one last homeowner.
Okay.
Okay, I'll be very quick. My name is Kate Savitz, and I'm at 163 Glenmount Park Road, and I am attached to 165. So we're in the small semi-detached houses with the small backyards, and I'll just put this on the.
do you see 163?
So this is our current back view. And so I just, they've talked a great deal about the variances, and I'm in agreement with everything they're saying. So I'm just literally showing you the perspective about how our sky view will be completely obliterated if this is to go.
So 163 and 165 are two semi-detaches.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, so we'll essentially have to be crane our necks to see the sky view, because when this building goes ahead, that's going to be completely.
Oh.
And this is the view from I have two boys. They share a bedroom, and they have a view of the sky and the tree. And then
I do want to explain to you that unfortunately you're on 163. No matter what they build, even without minor variance, it will be blocking you.
Yeah, exactly. But as we've been talking, we just want to we're entitled to put our points forward, and we would have hoped that the designers and the neighbours themselves would have come and discussed before everything went into place, as opposed to matter of fact, we've done it all, this is what we're doing. So we just want to put our points across, and hoping that, as Eva said as well, the goodwill of the neighbours, that we can make some modifications, because at the moment we're just going to have a total eclipse and our sky view will be completely obliterated.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Applicant, please.
Yeah, the applicant, please focus on addressing the concern, please.
Yes.
You have 5 minutes.
Yeah, perhaps you can tell us the difference between what you're permitted and what you're asking for, in terms of how it affects the neighbors.
Yeah, I think that unfortunately for the neighbors, they bought their house next to a 1.5-story house. You can only stand up on the second floor in the middle of the room. It's a very small house, so relative to a normal-sized house, it will look small. Some of the applications, some of the people here have applied to the Committee of Adjustment and have been approved for 0.73 on their property. This is not asking very much. Also, we were asked, for our front yard setback, it did go through planning and was approved by planning. We just...
I will help you a little bit. Can you show me your elevation? Side elevation.
Proposed?
Yeah, put it on that, please. Yeah. Because I think it's also an opportunity for you to explain to them, right? I mean, they can still go forward and appeal, so it's better to save us some time and just go for that. Explain to everyone what is that page again? So show us A401, please.
401 is a section.
The section or the elevation, either one. So
these are the elevations.
Can you move
That's
it a little
the rear and the side and the front.
Yeah. So can you kind of move it a little bit to the right? Yeah. So I think the major concern right now is this. I'm just focusing on the image in the middle. All right. Because that's obviously how they perceive it as a gigantic house, right?
Mm-hmm.
So can you just point it from the slide, showing me that, just draw a straight line and tell me roughly where is the line that is allowed to build? Or your front, so let's go for...
Front of the existing house.
So so
cantilevering over on our...
So that cantilever...
To the mic, please.
Yes.
You draw on that?
Just draw a straight line on the slide. You have a pen? Because they... Yeah, can you just draw a line on it? You're so very afraid of...
Yes. And
so you're just taking out that a little bit. That's the variance you're looking
but I can tell you that we have been working with our structural engineer, and we have pulled it back. We didn't want to complicate things. We were asking for 3.66, but we only need 4 meters setback. really need a glass of water. So we're only cantilevering out
Then
less than half a meter.
For the first floor height above established grade, is that the intent to get a high basement? Instead of going, is
Well,
an
the
existing
basement
too?
exists. We're not changing the basement.
So item number 1 is existing. Item number 2, which is the biggest issue, right, which is increasing the size of the area. Number 3 is the old Worcester student bylaw, which is that we just showed it.
Yeah, that's right, the
Keep
dormer.
that slide over there, please, because I think everyone deserves to understand your concern visually. And the roof eaves may project a maximum, so where are the roof eaves? About which that's also existing. So item number 1 and number 4 are existing. Number 3 sticks out a little bit. But item number 2,
It's only the cantilevered part that's
Of the
changing.
second floor, just of the dormer, just comes out half a meter from the brick wall below.
Otherwise, the front is not moving any
The front is
closer
not
to the
moving,
lot
the
line.
existing brick has to stay there.
Yeah, okay, so the concern is, the biggest concern is the floor space index.
Yes.
Which is 19 times larger.
Pardon?
19% larger than it is permitted.
The existing house is a,
0.35 to 0.54. So from assuming it's already 35, they're increasing of about 0.2.
I can-
That's about 6%.
but we're not even going to be as deep as the house next door. We're not going as, you can see from that landscape plan.
How many square feet in this house?
200.
New house?
The new house?
Yeah, 218 square meters.
There's a 600 square meter house across the street. This is a very tiny house.
You need to, okay, let's put it this way. You have to stop talking about other houses.
Okay.
It's more for your benefit. Just focus on these numbers because, like, honestly speaking, I have no issue of number 1, number 3, number 4. I think they can understand that too. It's the fact that the size of it, the massing of it is giving them the headache, right? So I'm trying to see that if we are reducing that number back to 0.35, are we still creating that problem to your neighbors? If it is, then that 0.54, I think, is reasonable to approve, right? Because if no matter what, it will still affect you. So that's the argument I want to focus on. And unfortunately, she's the only one who can speak now.
Right.
So just one last chance. Tell me why that 0.54 is not going to have a much more significant difference. It's a minor change from 0.35. Focus on your property only. Don't mention anything else.
Okay, well, the proposed house will not be as high as the house at 159, which is to the west.
That's not what he asked.
Oh, okay, don't compare.
So if the house was 0.35 times the size of the lot,
Yes.
would it have the same impact in terms of shadows and blockage of view as this house that you're proposing?
Think
Would
about
be
where
similar.
this extra floor space is going in the house, right? Like, where's it coming from?
A lot of, well, it is getting taller so that you can have a full second floor. Right now you don't. You can't, they're knee walls. The shadows, if you did it, we're not asking for variance for height. We could have had a flat roof at that height, but we don't. The only place that it's at that height is at the top of the gable. It happens 2 times.
When they calculate the floor area, did they include the basement?
No.
No, so that pool area is on the ground and on the second is above grade. Okay.
Yeah.
That is actually a point for them, not for you. Sorry.
Well, but their house is 0.73.
Yeah, like I said.
Oh, okay. All right.
Is yeah, that 0.54. You guys unfortunately, because there will be too much back and forth, so the regulation of this whole meeting is you first, she first, you first, and then she first.
Mr. Karpinski, please. So I don't think you've answered my question about the impact of a house. This house, if you were only going to 0.35 times the area of the lot as opposed to 0.54 times the area.
If we kept the height, if we went to the height permitted, it would cast similar shadow.
You know what? I think I would just have to make a motion to approve 1.3. Oh yeah, I think. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. But you could say what you.
I was going to say that if this is the end of the questions period of time, I would propose to approve only 1.34 because the applicant failed to explain point number 2. I have to. Okay.
It's the smallest house on the whole block by a lot.
Okay, all right, so thank you very much. Please don't speak. All right, we're in committee. Nobody has any. Have a motion?
So I can pick one. But they can go back and change the scale of that. There'll be a new.
Well, he can't change. He's going to have to refuse item variance number 2.
It's to the permitted 0.3. The existing 1.5.
I think we will have to oppose the whole thing. I mean, I wish they hired a better architect.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Yeah, I have a motion. Well, due to the fact that we will have to change the design significantly to address question number 2, and unfortunately the applicant failed to address the difference between the impact of 0.54 and 0.35, I will have to make a motion to oppose the whole proposal.
We have a seconder?
Or you can object me, you two can.
Do we have another motion? Motion fails. Do we have another motion?
I want to approve it, but number 2 is the problem. They should go back and reduce the size of it, and I hope that they can approve and reduce this period of time, but this only allows them to redo it again.
Okay, so he have a motion.
Can I second it, Aaron's?
Yeah?
At this point? I'll second.
Right. All in favor of the motion to refuse the application? Application refused. That was number 36. Number 37 has been deferred. Number 38. 32 Hudson Drive. Purpose of this Hudson Drive applicant here? You are, okay. Purpose of this application is to alter the existing 3-story detached dwelling by constructing a carport along the south side wall. We have material, the only material we have is that submitted by the applicant. Mr. Sprague?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is, as you said, Tom Sprague. I'm the agent for the owner. Very briefly, what the owners would like to do is build an attached carport at the side of their home on the south side, as shown on the sketch there. The carport itself will actually be open. The only part will be 2 posts at each end. And The reason being is that, as you notice, they want to build a pool and a shed. And up in the top left corner there's a very significant tree. And they really want to retain that tree and not cause anything that would jeopardize its health. They have talked with all the neighbors who support of what's being proposed. In particular, the neighbor to the south, at number 28, has no problems whatsoever. And I should also say that we have talked with the Moore Park ratepayers, and they have no concerns either. So my feeling is what's being proposed is, in my opinion, very appropriate, minor, and I think very reasonable.
Okay, do we have any questions, or do we have a
No one
motion?
opposing him, right?
No.
No, not at all.
It's very straightforward. Yeah,
I think so.
Motion to approve, please.
I'll second it.
All
Great.
in favor?
Good, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Number 39, 6 Southridge Avenue.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and committee members.
Just a minute. I'm getting paid to do this. Purpose of the application: to alter the existing one-story detached dwelling by constructing a second-story addition, rear two-story addition, new front porch, and rear deck, and a rear detached garage. And we have before us material submitted by the applicant, nothing else. Your name, sir?
Michael Shirzadfar. I'm the agent on behalf of Gordon Baker, the owner of 5 Southridge Avenue.
Okay.
I believe the variances in front of you are really minor in nature. We're basically proposing a second-story addition on top of the existing footprint, along with a small rear addition to the overall building. We don't have any building depth or length issues. We do have a variance with regards to height, but it's very minor. It's just because of the roof profile that we're trying to depict for the property. And also, FSI is greater than what's allowed, but if I was to just build on top of the existing building footprint, I would even exceed that FSI that's allowed based on the variances.
Right. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? It's pretty straightforward, so do we have a motion?
I'll pass a motion to approve.
All in favor? Thank you, sir. You have your approval.
Thank you.
Number 40, 380 Salmon Avenue. So the purpose of this application, is to alter the existing two-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a rear ground floor addition. We have before us material submitted by the applicant, email correspondence from transportation, and a report from transportation. Your name, madam?
Nilufar Sultani from KH Davis Engineering. I'm the agent for the applicant.
Okay, so this seems pretty straightforward. I don't think we need a presentation.
Okay.
All right, we have a seconder?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? You have your approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Number 41, 48 Morris Street. Purpose of this application is to alter the existing two-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a rear second-story addition and a rear ground floor porch. And before us, we have material submitted by the applicant and a staff report from Urban Forestry and a report from Planning. Your name, sir?
Savam Jokovic.
I recognize you.
Hi there again.
Familiar. Do you change your shirt?
Okay, this is pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and you also got the support from TLCA, and I assume you understand the implication.
Yeah, we did our homework there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very positive. It's much easier this time.
Yeah, thankfully.
Yeah.
Okay, so if there's no questions, can we have a motion?
Yeah, so I propose to approve I have a motion to approve with the condition of the forestry on the Condition number 3? Is it?
2.
Condition number 2, sorry.
Condition number 2.
Right, which basically you have read it already.
From urban forestry, yes.
That's right.
Pardon?
Toronto Forestry. And then the TLC. But the TLC is helping them to get a separate permit.
Yeah, and we've actually got the permit as of
You got already?
2 days ago, yeah.
Perfect, great.
Okay. All right. Do we have a seconder for the motion for approval? The seconder is here. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 42, 354 Strathmore Boulevard.
Hi, good afternoon.
All
My
right,
name
just
is
a minute.
Leo
Just a minute.
Masteria.
Just a minute. I'm not finished. Purpose of the application to replace the existing detached garage with the new detached garage. And we have before us the copy of the survey submitted by the applicant and 19 form letters in support. Can we do 358 at the same time?
Yes.
Okay. Also 358 Strathmore Boulevard. Purpose to replace the existing detached garage with a new detached garage. We have material submitted by the applicant and 19 form letters in support. And Mr. Andeo, can you, wow, okay. So, yeah, I think we can.
I have a quick question. Why are you going over the permitted ancillary building area?
That's a good question. Essentially,
It's relatively minor.
yes,
So I-
the reason why is because it's only 3 feet in width, and my client wasn't sure, 2 reasons. One, what to do with that dead space in there, and then the second reason was they're both rental units to give the tenants extra storage space.
Oh, so you're looking for a little bit of extra storage space in the garage?
Yes.
Okay, for each, because I think what's 46, I think I figured it'd be.
It's about 6 square meters, so 20 feet, 60 square meters. It's about 3 feet wide. But what we discussed it to avoid committee, but he's like, well, what am I going to do with that empty space? It was kind of like dead space that just would create.
I mean, between the wall and the lot line?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, usually we reserve that for, I don't know, firemen or all the kinds of egress, but you don't have that problem, so I don't see any issue. It's just accumulation.
I don't have a problem with this. I could make a motion to support.
So we're doing both, well, okay, let's do 354 first. Do we have a seconder? All in favor? Approval. So that one's approved. Number 43, Kathleen, you want to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion to support that as well.
All right, and second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Okay.
Have your approval, sir.
Thank you very much. Have a nice night.
Thank you. Number 44, 1320 Victoria Arc Avenue. This is one to obtain consent to sever the property into 2 undersized residential lots, and as well to construct a new 2-story detached dwelling with a front integral garage on the retained lot as described in consent application B0051/191EY, and to construct a new 2-story detached dwelling with a front integral garage on the conveyed lot as described in consent application B0051/19TEY. Oh, the other one should have been TEY as well. And we have before us in this application material submitted by the applicant, email correspondence from transportation, reports from engineering and forestry, and right-of-way associate, Bell Canada, and a 4-signature petition in support. Your name, sir?
Navdeep Grewal.
Engineering requirements?
Yeah. Yeah, I said engineer.
Drainage with sewer use bylaw.
Okay, your name, sir?
Navdeep Grewal.
And your address? Oh, you're the agent already.
I'm the owner of the 237 company.
You're the owner?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what are the size of the lots?
The lots,
not these lots.
Yeah, the new ones will be.
Lots in the area.
The lots in the area, they're
on the street.
They're also what we're applying for. They're 25 by 100 feet.
Okay, how many meters are they?
7.6.
So the other lots in the area adjacent to your property, across from your property, etc.
Yeah, the property next door that recently applied for a severance is the same size lot, and they also divided their lots to 7.6 meters frontage.
Okay. So, and there are other lots as well?
Yes.
And that they're the same size as your severed lots?
Correct.
Own the lot up there as well?
No, I purchased this in November.
Oh, I see.
So there is a.
I thought you keep dividing the land. And
No,
the
that's a different owner next door.
It was you who made it. Okay.
No.
All right, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I don't have any issues. Just trying of what we're doing.
Are we doing the consent?
Yeah, we do the
Yeah, we'll do the consent first, and then we'll just do it all together. Yeah. Yeah. There's no opposition.
Okay, so are the variance applications, so let's look at the variance applications. Is there anything?
I don't have any problem with the subdivision, with consent, but I do have some questions about the variance. It's like, these are new homes.
That's correct.
So why are you looking particularly for the setback variances? Like, why a front setback variance? What's your rationale for that?
There are homes, I think, on the next block to the north that are similarly closer to the street as well. And I think this one block has a pharmacy and a barber shop. And we also found it important to kind of maintain the soft landscaping in the back with the grass, and that's why it's a little bit.
What about the properties adjacent to yours? Are you lining up your houses?
Well, we are. That's what the next door also applied for when he severed his lot, and he's got the same side yard setbacks.
I think because they cut the lot to this lane to just divide it here.
Yeah. To move it forward.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
We're talking about 4 feet encroachment.
Yeah.
Exactly the same.
Okay, so are there any further questions? We have a motion?
I have a motion to approve all 3 of them.
Okay, thank you so much.
And to subject to the standard consent conditions, there was also a suggestion for urban forestry, condition number 3, where the applicant would be required to provide payment or plant 2 trees.
Is that on each lot?
That's for the consent. That would go in the consent conditions. And then there's a question, are the garages below grade?
No, they're above grade.
They're above grade, so the below grade condition recommended by engineering would not be required. Did you see that report?
I don't believe I did, but that's fine.
Assume you did.
Okay.
So basically, that's just in the white part.
A municipal number would be.
Oh, it's at the end.
Want to take a look at the engineering report?
The issue on July 15th.
Yeah, should have seen it. Bell is not a condition, Madam.
We approve it, which is what we're going to do now. If you turn to the side of that page, these are the requirements that you have to follow so that development will meet the city standard.
Yeah, that's not a problem. We'll get it.
Those are standard conditions. Engineering. Talks about the integral garage, is that right?
In that second page, 3, 4, and 5 relate to below-grade garage conditions. They're asking the applicant to indemnify them for any flooding. Well, if it's not below grade, there's not that issue. And then it talks also in the recommended condition number 3 about the reverse slope driveway guideline, but there is no reverse slope driveway, correct? Right.
I think we should still have him to show the plans to engineer to prove that there is no garage. And then we just...
There is a garage.
I mean, no garage in the basement.
There's no below-grade garage.
It's only as a requirement under the reverse slope driveway guidelines. There is no reverse slope driveway. You can see it on the elevations.
Right. Okay. So if you stick with the plan, I think that will be the condition, right? I know some people, after they get variance, they can still change the design.
We won't be doing that.
Okay.
The application doesn't say the garage is below grade, and that would be a change in the plan. It would probably trigger other variances, so it's not likely he can all of a sudden go in and put a below grade garage.
And if you cure it, then I would go.
Okay.
Okay.
So, did we have a seconder for the motion, or did we get tripped up halfway through? Yep. Okay. All in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for waiting.
Last guy.
You have to say.
Okay, we finished at 4:52.